Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining the City of Kingston Planning Board at our monthly meeting. Today is Monday, March 21st, 2022. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I am the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. Before we begin our meeting, I do want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be available to the public on the city website at a later date. The meeting is also being live streamed on the City of Kingston YouTube channel. We are in person and are using 2 rooms at City Hall. The board here in Conference Room 1 and the public and applicants are watching a live stream in the chamber. Due to limited space, as an agenda item is called, we ask that applicants and only the public who are here to speak at a hearing on that item, please join the board in Conference Room number 1. If you have any audio issues, please send a text message to the following number, 845-443-0416. And I will repeat the number again, but be aware that phone calls will not be answered during the meeting. The number again to text is 845-443-0416. Materials for this meeting may be found on the City of Kingston website by going to www.kingston-ny.gov. Once on the homepage, click on the meeting link in the calendar and follow the prompts for the agenda materials. We want to thank everyone for their patience, and on behalf of the Planning Board, I wish you and your family good health. I will now turn the floor over to Chairman Wayne Platt to call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m.
Thank you, Suzanne. Welcome everybody to the March 21st, 2022 City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. We'll begin with introductions. I am Wayne Platt Jr. I'm the chairman. We also have Robert Jacobson, Matt Gillis, Kevin Roach, Vince Archer, Emily Hamilton, and Sage Newkirk. Suzanne Cahill is our planning director. Kyla D-Day is the assistant planner. We also have Alderman Michael Oliveri, who's the common council liaison to the planning board. And we have assistant corporation counsel Matthew Jankowski. Welcome. We will begin tonight. Item number 1 is the adoption of the February 22nd, 2022 planning board meeting transcripts and decisions. Everybody has received a copy of them. Any questions, deletions, or additions on them? Okay, seeing none. Let's now make a motion that we adopt the February 22nd, 2022 planning board meeting transcripts and decisions. Now, second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I don't have to go down this. I made my name to this.
No.
Okay, moving into public hearings. Item number 2 is 53 Wiltwick Avenue. It's a special permit renewal for an art studio and a gallery. Up here, folks, to the bench. Section block and lot is 48.318-5-4. Secret determination zone R2, Ward 6, Louis E. Nida. Did I pronounce that correct?
Correct.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah.
All right. And Talia Barrow Nida?
You screwed that one.
Barrow. Okay. Nida is by the applicant's owners. And I would presume that both of those will be. Well, okay.
I'm just going to recuse myself from this application. I work with the applicants when they bought the property.
Okay.
Some time, but just for safety purposes.
Okay. So Emily, you want this one?
Okay.
So Robert's recusing himself.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a building formerly occupied by the Church of the Nazarene. And the original application was in February of 2017, and then again for February 2018 for a period of 1 year. And you have no changes with what's going on right now, Fred?
Getting older.
Well, I hear you. I hear you. Any questions from the board? We're going to Turn, anything like that?
I'll just bring it up. With respect, any day now, I'm going down to the building inspector
Okay.
to apply for a permit to put a small shed, a storage shed out back.
Okay.
That's it.
There will be no power, no water power and.
Okay.
storage.
We don't have to show that on, it was a special permit, it wasn't a site plan. We need to have something like that.
Yeah, I think you can approve it. You can submit the drawing for the location showing that it complies with setback requirements, and this board can incorporate it into a decision. What size is the shed?
12 feet by 12 feet.
12 by 12, and it's just for storage?
Just
That's all.
Okay, no utilities or anything?
I'll be contracting with Lowe's,
Okay.
buying from them. They're installing it, they're everything.
I would imagine you're having to provide a picture or a detail of where it's going to be on your property to build.
Yeah, there's a very old concrete slab out back where we were.
So whatever you're submitting to building safety would probably suffice to submit that same thing to our office too.
Sure.
Okay, okay, good, thank you. All right, so we have no questions from the board. Staff is recommending that the term be increased to 10 years. Has everybody is okay with that?
Yeah, this looks nice and straight.
Boy, I hope I'm here for the next one.
Well, I hope I'm here. I'm getting old too. Okay, and staff also indicates that the use has very little impact on the neighborhood and has never had any issues with building department or police department, so that's good. Okay, so everybody's good with the 10 year on that? Okay. We're ready for, to approve this thing. Okay. So under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. So at this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 2 for a period of 10 years with all original conditions carried forward and for the applicants to supply a drawing of the location of the new shed that they're proposing. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks.
So I just like some clarification. I'll go to the building. I started last fall, but then winter came and it just.
Okay.
He told me last fall, he said, in addition to getting the permit, you have to get the easement officer over there to make sure that you're setback.
Right.
That's what.
So, and I'll do that too.
Yeah.
And
once I have that permit, I'll come here.
Yeah, you can.
Come to the office and
What
bring
you-
a copy.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna submit to our office just a drawing of your property and where you want to place the shed. Okay, the shed is gonna have to be set back at least 6 feet from the property lines.
That's what.
Okay, so just bring that into us, and if you have like a cut sheet of whatever shed you're purchasing from Lowe's, okay, just attach that to it. And once we have that, we will send a letter off to the building department that it's been through the planning board and through staff, and you're good.
So nominally speaking, we have our plot of land is 50 by 100,
Okay,
50 street, 100 deep. And do you just, will you accept that as not a floor plan, but
yes,
Plan, plan
yes,
view.
exactly. You show your property lines and show where you're gonna put that, show where your existing structure is, and then where that little shed is gonna go. That's it.
And you can email that if you prefer. That's fine.
No problem.
And if you have additional questions, you can always give them a
yeah,
shot.
well, if you want to come over and help out.
So,
Okay,
all
we
right.
out of here?
You're out of here.
You guys be well. Stay
Thanks,
healthy.
folks. Take care, man.
Say hi to her. Hi, Charlie.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, you can come back now.
Suzanne, just a reminder, I gotta leave at 6:40,
Yes.
Okay,
definitely meetings.
all right. Rob Jacobson is back. Item number 2, oh, excuse me, item number 3 is 241. She doesn't have to sign that. We'll have to come back my way then. We probably already signed that one. So,
Didn't attend it.
okay, 241-267 rear Albany Avenue. It's a special permit renewal to construct and operate a community solar project.
Then you're gonna have to.
Section block and lot is 48.317-1-2. Seeker determination, zone R, Ward 2, Radio Kingston is the applicant owner. Is this something you do? Are they here?
I'll check, I'm gonna go check on this. No.
This is something, they're gonna be here for something later on. You want both of those?
Yeah. No one's here for that.
They need to be.
I don't think so. The solar? No.
Is there another thing on the agenda?
That's going to
Number
be
6.
tabled.
That's just a normal renewal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There should be something.
So,
Staff indicates there are no changes to the permit, which was originally approved in February of 2020 for a period of 1 year. So it's not in full operation yet, right? Is it?
I believe they're operating, yeah.
Okay. This must be. This will-
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we are up and running. So in March of last year, they recommended a 1-year term to allow for full operation. What do you think is a good term for this?
I would go again with the one.
Okay. Sound good? Good. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required with that. Any other questions from the board? This time I'll make a motion that we approve item number 3 for a period of 1 year with all original conditions carried forward. Do I have a second? Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, under new business. I guess I should have had mentioned that was public. I didn't mention it was public hearing. Okay, we speak, you know, it was good to speak. All right, item number 4 is 451 Washington Avenue. Site plan for exterior lighting upgrades, section block and lot is 48.71-2-16. Seeker determination, zone C2, Ward 1, Bank of America is the applicant. North Star Bank, upstate New York is the owner.
Very good.
Aye.
How's it going? How's everyone doing today?
Good. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yep, it's Mark Krachelski. Last name's Krichlsky.
Common spelling.
So,
Common spelling.
yep, common spelling.
Okay. So, all right. So, you got a real short paragraph here, so you can go ahead. Tell us what you're up to here.
Yeah, I mean, long and short, we have a national security program with Bank of America. And a big part of it is the exterior lighting and that it meets the required standards. So what we're really doing here is pretty much replacing most of the existing lights, proposing a couple of new lights and removing one light in order to meet these security standards. In doing so, we are also meeting the town and state lighting regulations. And we're also kind of going green with the site in that we're providing new energy efficient LED fixtures.
We need to see sheets of that. You have that. We provided that for you. But do we need to see that?
No, we have that.
I have the full set if needed as well
Yeah.
to present.
Do you need to see anything like?
Yeah, it's basically they're upgrading all of the existing exterior light poles with new fixtures and canopy lighting, and then run ATM wall lighting, and then they're adding one new pole light, correct?
Just one new pole light.
Along the exterior drive that isn't even along the
And there's
frontage
no
area.
residences around.
the property. So,
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. At this time, I'll make a motion. Policy 6 with this too, right? Is that-
Yes.
That's it, right? That's all you need?
Yeah, and 4 and 4A lighting ones.
All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 4 with policies 4, 4A, and 6 applied. Have a second? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Great, thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
If there's somebody having some time.
Hopefully we got enough buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, you just did.
Yeah, you just, that's for the solar array, right?
Yes.
They're all approved.
Okay, great.
Okay, the easiest job you've had so far.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else I need to do? Or are you-
We'll see you in a year.
Okay,
Good job.
No? Yeah, we approved it for a year.
okay,
So,
perfect. Thank you so much.
thank you. Another. Item number 5 is 582 Broadway, It's a site plan for establishing 3 separate food service establishments in an existing building. Section block and lot is 56.25-4-12, seeker determination, zone C2, mixed-use overlay district, Broadway overlay district, heritage area. Ennis Lawrence is the applicant, Dylan Kennedy is the owner. She's going to treat.
Missing a decision document number 2.
Hi.
Have a seat.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Can you say your name for the record, please?
Ennis Lawrence.
So this is an existing building formerly occupied by Tony's Pizza. This is 440, this is not 441.
582.
Yeah. Oh, this is way up. Okay, that, I got you now. Yeah, yeah. So go ahead, tell us what your plans are.
So the existing Tony space will continue to be a restaurant. And the 2 other spaces between Tony's and the optometrist, one will be a retail market.
Was that the driving school?
Yes, it was. The driving school and like a thrift shop kind of.
Yeah,
in those spaces.
if you're, the one that'll be the retail space is the center space, which currently had someone was living in it.
Okay.
It's empty now, obviously. And then the vintage store, I believe, was the far right store next to the optometrist. And that will be a pizzeria by the slice shop.
And then the restaurant's gonna be more dining?
The restaurant's gonna be dining, it'll still have the patio that exists out back, and it'll be more of like a bistro style restaurant.
Gotcha.
We're gonna have a commissary kitchen built in, like the vintage space goes all the way back to the avenue, and it's like 90 feet long, and we're gonna turn the backside, which is now like a shed, we're gonna just make that one contiguous space and have like 4 season and have a commissary kitchen there that makes our own charcuterie and sausages and processes meat and does not like but for our restaurants internally. We have a restaurant in High Falls as well. That'll be making meatballs and making sauce, making all the stuff we sort of buy from other vendors now and sort of process whole animals for our own restaurants.
Great. Okay, and Mr. Kennedy is the owner of Ollie's Pizza, is that, or is that? you?
Until Wednesday.
Okay. I see that your team has over 30 years in the restaurant business. Really? And that's like saying good luck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's an excellent spot. I remember Tony's from 35, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in High Falls, and it's like my favorite storefront on Broadway, so
Yeah.
I'm really, yeah.
All right, so will there be, all 3 spaces will be they're not gonna be connected at all? There's gonna be opening up some
There'll be,
walls?
the Tony space will sort of be, they'll all be connected through the basement,
Okay.
actually. And the center space will have a door that goes into the slice shop to get to the commissary. But other than that, there's no, yeah, like the drawing you can see,
Sorry.
we're like taking some of the center space. Like currently, there's an existing wall, I can just, this wall is existing, and that's gonna stay, this is the center space, this is already here, we're gonna take some of this space for bathrooms for the bistro, this will become the retail space with an entrance, this is the commissary here
Okay.
with an entrance, we have like parking along the back, so we have like a, commercial entrance to have food come, so we're gonna be taking a refrigerated van to our other restaurant, and it's possible that will become a wholesale operation down the road. It's just not really in the cards in the beginning. And then, yeah, this is all existing, kitchen's existing, patio's existing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna upgrade everything because it's in need of some serious upgrades.
Okay.
Speaking of upgrades, is there anything targeted for outside, for the storefront, or sprucing it up, or?
Yeah, Sue and I have spoken about this. The goal is the far space, the vintage store, sort of continue. You can see how it's got like a weird full floor to ceiling glass front. It's gonna have, that'll come sort of in the same line. Can't really see it in that photo, but in the floor plan, you can see that the far storefront is a totally different structure. It's like floor to ceiling windows. It'll become more like you see there, that white vitrolite, where like the window is half height. It'll just sort of mimic that, and it'll mimic the angle. So it won't like change depth or anything, but it will aesthetically change.
What you're saying is you're putting a whole new storefront on that.
On that, for that one piece, we kind of want it to look the same as the centerpiece. And it's my understanding, as we've discussed, that I'll submit those plans to the historic commission.
That will go to Heritage area
Heritage,
because
yeah.
of the Broadway design standards, so that commission will review that and signage as well.
And then we're gonna submit all the signage at the same time, and the idea is to keep the neon, and just sort of change the lettering, because the name's gonna change, but, we talked about submitting all that at the same time to the Heritage.
All right. And refuse and recycling, I know you've had discussions with staff about that.
The idea, as I had said, I would love to have a dumpster in an enclosure, but my understanding from County Waste is that I don't have the frontage to get a dumpster picked up. So it's gonna probably have to be, trash as they have now, which is along the back wall, outside the patio on the far side, closer to the vintage store space.
Yeah.
They have like half a dozen recycling and trash
Okay.
bins now.
Okay.
Like I said, I will talk to County Waste, but I don't see it as, they told me at my restaurant in High Falls that it was 100 feet of clearance between, of straight shot to the dumpster, and that's just not realistic in the back, so.
So county waste is gonna be your panel.
Yeah, they're by far the most
Okay.
affordable one.
Okay.
Right, so you can see there, like they have a few more now, but, and again, like I haven't measured it, he's had trailers there, they're moving out. I just don't know if it's realistic for them to get the truck straight in. I would build an enclosure there, to, like we have in High Falls, to have like a 6-yard. But I'm gonna talk to them, but that would be my preference, just because it's easier to
Is
measure.
that their current?
I don't know whose dumpster that is.
That might be the optometrist dumpster.
Yeah.
I think that's off the
it's
property
not
line.
Tony's.
Yeah,
They're gonna need these enclosed.
Yes, that's what he said, he's gonna build a enclosure, he's gonna talk to the dumpster company again.
yeah.
And if it's absolutely not possible, then he'll build a small enclosure for the cans.
Do we have any questions?
No, sounds good.
Great. This is type 2 also, huh? Seeker, this is type 2 action, so we have no further review required for that. You want to go over the conditions?
It's really just the,
Is it all those numbers right here, right?
and heritage.
Okay.
And the enclosure, the final decision on the enclosure will be submitted to staff.
Okay, so, does he know about the next one?
I don't know.
Okay. We're gonna, there's a knock spot's gonna be required for this too, which it's after hours, fire department access.
Sure.
And one box can handle all three buildings if you don't.
Okay.
Properly, so, we're gonna make that one of the conditions of approval.
Okay.
You can reach out to the fire department.
I can talk to them directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, High Falls, I asked them if I could do one, and they were like, you'll be the first one, so I didn't, yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I told them I can start with that.
Okay, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 5. And this is something, no special, okay? With board policies 6, 10, 11, 12, 19, 25, which is a Knox box, and 26. It's going to be referred to the Heritage Area Commission, and also you're going to provide details of the enclosure
For the trash.
the risk of trash receptacles in the back. Okay, so that's a motion. Do I have a second by Robert Jacobson? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Did something else not come back?
5 is still.
Is it it?
This is.
That's what we just said.
6.
All right, item number 6. 693 Broadway in parentheses 695. It's an amendment to the approved site plan, demolition and new construction of a 1,544 square foot building along with site improvements. Section block and lot is 56.92. -3-19.100. Secret determination, Ward 4, Zone C2. Broadway overlay district, it's in heritage area. Radio Kingston is the applicant owner.
The applicants are going to be going to Heritage Commission first because of the Broadway design standards. So they want to go through that review process first for new construction, and then they will be back. So they've asked to be tabled this evening.
That motion.
Robert Jacobson with a motion to table. A second on that? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Not 7 that one.
All right. Item number 7 is 685 Broadway. It's a special permit renewal for auto sales and repairs. Section block and lot is 56.92. -3-21, secret determination, Zone C2, Heritage Area, Broadway Overlay District, Ward 4, Dago A. Moratz is the applicant owner. Okay, also with this one, building safety is awaiting what they're going to re-inspect.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to re-inspect. There was a violation that they had issued, a violation notice for basically general cleanup and wastes. He had 60 days. That doesn't expire until April 9th, I believe. So he would be back at our next meeting. Hopefully that he has rectified that and taken care of it, and the building department is satisfied.
All right. Motion by Robert Jacobson to table item number 7. There's a second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. That was under old business. We're under old business. All right, item number 7.
That's the one we just did. Power stuff.
That was
8.
seven.
Item number 8 is 5 Beale Street and 8 and 10 Post Street. It's a special permit to establish a mixed-use occupancy and associated site improvements. Section block and lot is 56.43-4-30, 31, and 32. Secret determination type 2, Ward 8, Zone RT, Roundup Historic District, is in heritage area. CBSKI Kingston LLC, in French, Charles Blake is the applicant owner. Do you want to couple this with Diane too, or do you want to, we got to do this separately, right?
Separately, yes.
Let the record show that Scott Dunn is here. Hi there.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody in person.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's a little strange in the other room, I have to say.
Hopefully.
We should have a live stream of what the other room looks
We
like.
do. Well, I do.
Okay.
I do. So,
All right.
We're waiting for equipment.
Yes,
That's kind of.
yes. So Scott, I have the plans up, I can show, and I also have hard copy if anybody would prefer to see it on the table,
Great.
you know, so just let me know which page you'd like, I believe this is existing.
How many hard copies you got?
We have a large hard copy?
Here's a hard copy.
that's,
Fairly straightforward. The board has seen this before and staff generated a list of comments asking for additional detail on lighting, landscaping, and storm water management, which we've provided for review. We've also been to HLPC and HAC for their review since this board had its initial look at it.
one of the interesting things about this project is that Mr. Blakeman is looking also to get some historic tax credits. So he's really putting a lot of emphasis on the restoration being appropriately done so that it maintains its historical. Right. So the street frontage is going to become a retail commercial type business. No tenant, as far as I know, right?
Correct.
Has been determined yet. So obviously, signage and other particulars would come back. And then the residential up above will be completely rehabbing. It's a full gut
It's a gut
restoration. Yeah.
And the application has been made to New York State SHPO, forwarded to the NPS. So we're in that process, which is a lengthy process. So if I had to guess, it would be 15 to 18 months from now, give or take, before we were in a position to obtain a C of O. I mean, naturally, you hope to do these things quicker, but there's a process on the front end and on the back end. After Charles is complete with the construction, we still need the New York State SHPO to sign off on what they call.
So they can run parallel each other, the construction and this application, right?
No, we need their approval before we do any significant work, and that's in motion. That's sort of on the same timeline as your board's approval. We started that at the same time,
Okay.
but after construction is complete, when we file for a TCO, there's still a process to complete the New York State SHPO and NPS.
Because one of my questions is, we're asking for what the construction timeframe is, because we got to couple that with what the special permit
Right.
timeframe will be for approval for that.
My guess is that they'll be doing lease up 15 to 18 months from now. So if you'd like to get a year under your belt to see how they're managing the property, anything less than that will still be in construction. We'll be back before the board requesting.
You're saying 18 months before somebody even takes possession of the property?
Correct, before we have a tenant.
Just do.
2 years?
2 years, that should be up and running, constructed, hopefully somebody in it, reevaluate it, and then decide how far out to go.
And I think another good point about this is that, we're dealing with somebody who's got a good track record with us. Mr. Blake has got a good track record with us, so SHPO can know that,
Tremendous amount of oversight here.
Yeah, no, that's fine for me, yeah. I just had Kyla pull up the landscape plan so you can kind of see, and you see where the parking is being established in the back. It's being improved and extended a little bit. Dry wells will be, one dry well is being added so that all the storm drainage is being collected on site, which is new and an improvement. Obviously, a handicap parking space will be added back there. So overall, in general, it's going to be a really big improvement to that little corner there.
Should note that there are currently 3 lots there, so should the board be in favor of granting an approval with conditions tonight, we do need to delete a couple of lot lines and provide the city with easements for some of the parking which crosses over with the other lot lines.
Right, well, that will be a separate application.
Correct.
Have to come back, so it'll be a lot line deletion application.
But at this point, we're looking to advance the approvals so that we can get a building permit, so that we can start doing the work. So,
And once they get their ship on, they know where to go, then they come back with that.
Yeah, nothing really good with that.
Yeah, no issue with it.
Okay.
What kind of lighting? You guys, but
I don't know, can you scroll back to the lighting plan?
I'm sure.
We've been working with a lighting designer. We lost our lighting consultant that we had been using for the last 15 years to retirement. So we found somebody new who's been very helpful in helping us make sure that we don't have spillover. We did deliberately pick these fixtures. We spent a fair amount of time going over them in the, let's see, northeast corner. I believe if you zoom in, Carla, we've got a new post light that's seen in the cut sheet. There's a security light on the back of the adjacent building, also owned by Charles. And then the other lights on Private Beal are more residential in nature. They're actually, they're not commercial spec grade fixtures, but they are rejuvenation, meant to be sympathetic to the period, fairly low light levels in and around the building, but enough to satisfy the building code requirement to have 1 to 5 foot candles at a means of egress.
Yeah.
throwing in a little landscaping too.
Oh, yeah. We've got landscaping at Post Street, both sides of the driveway, and then landscaping at the property line, natives. In fact, if memory serves me, in the north east corner, we used forsythia along the property line there. Nothing fussy, and then out at Post Street, I forget exactly what we had specified, but if you see
About the street trees out there?
we do not have any street trees proposed.
Over here, left it.
Scott, what about off-site improvements, any sidewalk upgrades along Post or a Beal?
There will definitely be some sidewalk improvements because we have a new water service coming off of Post Street, approximately 40 feet in from the property line, right about where that sign is there.
Okay,
I don't think that we need to do anything on Beale Street, but that apron will be replaced.
right,
And the sidewalk down to where you have clean sidewalk at Beale Street.
it's going to be Bluestone?
I didn't specify it as Bluestone, but if it's in the Bluestone district, then
Yeah, you're in the historic district, so,
Post Street is all concrete, existing now. all-
right, but he's saying he was replacing that,
we do need to replace the apron along Post
right,
all the way down at least to where the sign is, approximately 40 feet in from the property line on Beale Street. So if that needs to be Bluestone, we'll naturally.
Yeah, but is there any bluestone on that street? What's on the other side?
Nothing.
Up and down the street, I don't know, I mean, further up, I think there is, yes.
I think this is concrete.
It's all
Well,
concrete right now,
So
right,
Bow Street would remain concrete, right? On the other side.
yeah, that was done by the city, that was part of a city project.
We don't need to disturb
That.
a Beale Street.
No. I'm just saying, you're in a historic district and there is the bluestone ordinance, so if you're replacing sidewalk, the paver has to be bluestone. That's the way the ordinance is written.
You're saying that the concrete apron stays for the parking lot, but it has to be bluestone from the concrete apron to the
Yeah,
corner?
the concrete apron can be concrete, where the traffic goes across, of course. They're gonna change all of that out, right? You said you're taking all that out, the apron.
We have to take the apron
Right.
out to modify the grade in there.
But that apron would remain concrete.
Yeah,
Which makes sense for durability, right? And then approximately 40 feet in from the front porch on a Beale Street, which is the property line, 40 feet back from there is where the water line currently is, which we'll be abandoning. And we're gonna put a new 4-inch water line with a new 4-inch tap right next to where the existing line is.
right.
We'll need about a foot or so to close off the existing tap to water department standards. So at least half of that from the apron to where you have new concrete installed by the city will be cut. Now, do we need to come all the way down to where it's fresh concrete? No. We'll be disturbing about half of it.
So then you probably talk to DPW about whether bluestone or concrete would be. Because I think there's a threshold for percentage replacement
Right.
Okay,
that triggers it, so.
that's new to me, but that's informative,
so.
thank you. I mean, it would look a little weird, almost like a Band-Aid, if there were two
Yeah.
pieces of
So
bluestone.
that's kind of where I'm going. I mean, the whole street's
Yeah.
concrete, the apron's huge as concrete, and the city just put a brand new concrete sidewalk in, so. I don't
No,
really-
it's only, it's concrete at the corner, and then they do that where for the ADA
Correct, but that, so you,
ramping, and that's everywhere in the city, but the rest of it's bluestone.
So I'll follow up with DPW on that.
Is there landscaping in the front where these, whatever this is? I don't think I saw it.
Don't,
Do you have an idea?
we did not specify anything there. But if the board would allow staff to take recommendations from us, certainly it's begging for landscaping there, but that was an
It's begging
oversight.
for something, I don't know. whether
I think it needs a little bit more
landscaping or wall or,
landscaping, but
you
it
know.
looks good. Keep that on staff.
I think staff is.
All right.
We got a drywall proposed to it, I assume?
Yeah, we're proposing to regrade the parking lot in the back and install a dry well. Currently, there is no on-site stormwater management, so everything flows out to Post Street, and down to Beale Street, and down to Broadway, and into the creek. So you can see, we've we have some proposed regrading here to create a slight bowl. There's nothing that we can do about the apron there, just because of the existing topography, but we can capture the majority of the stormwater management on site.
That's gonna be stone in there still? And what's the parking lot gonna be?
Parking lot's gonna be paved,
It's gonna be,
Paved.
what is it right now?
That's,
It's not. paved.
it's an amalgam of
Yeah.
sand and
Okay.
asphalt and
Yeah.
Some of the back is, you've got some part paved, you've got some open grass area.
there's some leftover concrete slabs back there. It's
Okay.
a mess.
I think we have this term, right? Is 2 years good?
Yeah.
We'll be 6 months into tenancy at that point.
Pardon?
I said at 2 years from now, we'll be 6 months into tenancy and
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. So under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board's reply to that. You give me hotspots in this too, because it's going to be.
That's what,
Yeah, I see that. All right, so at this time, we'll make a motion that we approve item number 8 for a period of 2 years. Board policy 6, 4, 4A, 5, 7, 7A, 12, 13, 14, 19, 22, 23, 25, and 26. Want a second on that?
with, I'm sorry, with the landscaping at the corner and any additional landscaping coming back to staff for review and approval, we'll refer this to DPW for the sidewalk materials and the subdivision, the lot line deletion.
We'll come back to that.
Right.
Okay. There's a motion. Robert Jacobson has a second on that. All in favor? Yes.
can I ask that the board authorize the building department to release a building permit? Subject.
For the renovation, for the,
Right, I mean, while we, not hold it up while we wait for the subdivision.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any issue with that, because
Just
they
getting a
got,
clarification.
All of the, well, for what, building permit to do what extent of work, the interior demolition work or?
To start renovations. We have a full building permit stamp set in for review.
Okay, when do you think you'll be back? I'm just concerned that we'll be constructing over property lines. So if you, I mean, if you're just going in to do the interior demolition work and in the meantime coming back,
We
And
can
getting
keep it limited to
subdivision.
the building footprint itself for now
Okay.
until we do
Well-
subdivision.
well, a C of O will not be able to be issued because that's one of our conditions is for them to come back for the lot line deletion.
right,
They won't be able to get a C of O for that work until that is taken care of. So, right? Are you comfortable
right,
with that?
I'd rather get done sooner than
So
later.
next month?
As soon as Bernier and Lanios did the survey,
Okay.
they've been authorized to do the work, so.
Probably next month.
I mean, this is an 18-month build out, which,
Yeah.
so, I mean, they got plenty of time to do it. Lot line review.
As I just said, but they're not going to get a C of O.
Okay,
We fully understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you can do that. Tell Bill safety that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put
Thank
that on there.
All right, so Robert Jacobson has a second on that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, keep skipping around.
Yep.
Dr. Locke here. Welcome. How are you? Good. All right, so item number 9 is 16 Beale Street. Special permit for exterior renovations and site improvements for a multi-family residential. Section block lot is 56.43-5-19. Seeker determination will be type 2. Ward 8, Zone RT, it's in the Rhonda Historic District. It's also in heritage area. It's CBSKI, Kingston LLC, and Friends Charles Blakeman is the applicant owner. The record code, Mr. Scott Evans here again.
Wash, rinse, repeat of the last presentation. The board has seen this before. Staff came back with very similar comments. We've updated the plans showing stormwater management, landscaping, answered questions about refuse and lighting. Similar fixture package for consistency. It's really the easier project in many ways, even though it's a larger project, because there's no change to the number of existing residential units. It's just a freshen up on the interior. It's long overdue. Freshen up on the exterior. There's a tremendous amount of deferred maintenance, deterioration in the facade. Again, we've petitioned the National Park Service and the New York State SHPO office to list the building on the state register and the national register, and that's well underway. The challenge here on this site is the topography, frankly. And we've done the best that we could to find a home for refuse. We think that it has to be part of Waller. We propose to put the refuse at the northwestern corner of the building itself with totes. There really isn't a place on the property for a dumpster, even though an apartment complex of this size is borderline whether a small 6-yard makes sense. We've introduced new landscaping. We're proposing to reconstruct the steps from the parking lot to Beale Street.
5 units.
6 units in this, Scott?
Forgive me, I think it's 6.
So about 6.
If you're 2 or 4.
You could go to the parking layout, parking calculation. You have to forgive me, we start these projects and a year and a half later, we're in front of you.
Is that going to be the same? How many units are in there now?
He's not changing.
We're not changing the
No, it's staying the same.
Showing me for not knowing.
6 spots.
No,
Because I'm not changing it.
I'm just looking through my notes, I'm trying to find it.
At the end of the day, this is just a refresh in, a refresh out with the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's-
I think we can vote on that.
Any other questions?
Is that true they're putting their time? 6 units?
It's not changing.
No change. Those units have been there for as long
Right,
as
new units.
I've been in Kingston.
No other questions? All right. Again, under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. Term of this thing. We're not into the.
Same set of circumstances,
Okay.
same contractor,
2 years.
same
2 years.
SHPO,
Okay.
NPS process.
Everybody's good with 2 year for this one? Okay. All right. So at this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 9 for a period of 2 years. What commissions do you have there?
Board policies 4, 4A, 5, 6, 7, 7A, 12, 13, 14, 19, 22, 23, 25, and 26.
There's a motion. We have a second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you all.
We're gonna need number 10.
Success with that?
See you soon.
Yeah.
Next,
Were you able to get a contract with you, Jeff, for the weekend?
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah. We're good. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Nate? Chair up.
I just didn't think it was going to be as extensive as like the one across the street, you know, as far as getting renovated, you know, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's just a refresh.
All right, item number, are we gonna, are we grouping these ones here?
We'll be joining.
This area. Outlet.
You want me, are we going over these one by one?
There's one back there and that. Your part is pretty small. And then you can move this chair around if that works for you.
Hi there,
Hi.
good evening, how are you?
You guys can take over this whole space.
Okay.
It's here.
Thank you.
It comes at home. Be the next
Hi.
5. Hi.
It's got nice to have these destroyed. It's just gonna have- Wait.
Waiting, I sent them a note to promote to panelists, so you just have to accept it. We should have you sit up at the table to pull the chair, Chuck. We have another chair over there, or is that gonna be used? Here, well, let's squeeze down. Well, then your back is gonna be, so we'll squeeze you in on this.
Chuck, you look.
Not coming down that way. Yes, right. Not coming down.
I would be sitting in that chair all day.
There you go.
Big bounce.
All right.
That's cool. No, I'm good. I'm just waiting for him to accept. Has he got it?
Looking for, you granted him access?
Yes, you should have
I
gotten
got
that.
a message.
You should get a message.
There you go. Okay, once you're in, I will give you the photos. Hang on a second.
Thank you.
To share.
Okay, now you're ready. Next one.
There you go.
Yeah, you're doing it. There we go.
Are we gonna, they're reading all of these, you're gonna group them in as one, or you wanna?
I think they'll just have them introduce themselves and then we'll just go, they'll want to do their presentation first and then we'll start.
But he's asking, should you read them all?
We gotta read these all into
For the record.
the whole, all five of them.
Yeah, whatever. And
And
that's
what you
good.
can probably do is on the agenda, you could probably read the addresses and then it's gonna be the same information for all.
Okay,
They're all in the RT, Ward E.
I'm gonna give the separate section blocks a lot.
Sure, address section of the law and then vote together. That works.
All right, so this is items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Item 10 is 24-26 Hunter Street. Its section block and lot is 56.43-3-9. We have item number 11 is 33-35 West Union Street. Section block and lot is 56.43-3-10. Item 12 is 25-27 Avil Street. Section block and lot is 56.43-3-25. Item 13 is 38-40 West Union Street. Section block and lot 56.43-3-26. And item 14 is 24 West Union Street. Section block and lot is 56.43-3-24. These are all for the last one's going to be a little bit. 10, 11, 12, and 13 are for site plan for construction of a 3-unit residential structure. Seeker determination, Ward 8, Zone RT. It's in the Ronnet Historic District, Heritage Area, Coastal Consistency, Union Hill Church / Alex. Okay. Alleghenian is the applicant owner, and the only difference with item 14 is it's a special permit for conversion of an existing church to a mixed-use building with commercial on the ground floor and 4 residential units on the upper floor. Okay, welcome.
Why, thank you.
State your names for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Joseph Menuda. I'm the architect of record with Menuda Architecture.
Okay.
I'm here with Alexander Allegheny, who's the project sponsor, applicant, and owner.
All right, so.
I also have with me Jack, from my office, who's doing this wonderful presentation.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you've got a presentation here, right, first, or you want to go over what you want to?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, if it's okay with you, I'd like to start with lot 9. And what you're looking at on the screen right now is we're actually looking at both lots There's a firewall down the center, and what we've done is we've created 3 units on one side and 3 units on the other. So that's right and left. And in order to accommodate as much parking as we can, because we simply can't do that with the city constraints, we chose to raise the building on pilotis and place the parking areas underneath. If you go to the next slide, please. So what you'll see here, may I go up to the screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so with respect to the lots, on the main portion of this, and I apologize for still trying to figure this out in this technology, right? So what we have here is we have West Union Street, and we're coming into it this way as a one-way. We're proposing parking stalls in this direction, angled parking. There are 2 ADA compliant stalls. There's a concrete pad within this area. We've chosen to do a concrete curb around it. And then within that concrete curb, placing a river rock or some sort of decorative stone, boxwood hedges on the perimeter here and on the perimeter here. These obviously will be using the existing curb cuts and making them more formal from what exists now. We'll have ADA compliant ramps coming down on either of the sidewalks to meet that requirement, and also from the ADA locations here. What do you have for the next slide? So aside from the 3 units, in order to meet some of the green space requirements and offsetting that, what we chose to do is provide a roof garden. That's not only going to provide additional landscaping that we could not be afforded on site, but also provides additional area for the occupants. So that is serviced via stairs and an elevator to the upper level. And within that space, there'll be greened areas. This will all be most likely an EPDM roof with a paver walking surface. And then we'll have certain bench areas and other things like that for the exterior. Next slide. So what you're looking at is some of the side views of the building. This is the proposed east elevation, and this is the proposed west elevation. We had some commentary from several of the, from both Heritage and Landmarks and your board as well with regard to some of the fenestration, and we worked some of that out as well, so that we're breaking down the scale of this. The other thing that was asked of us was to show the scale of these buildings within the context of the neighborhood. Javed, can you show that? If you have the ability to pull up the model, that would be best.
Yeah, it's.
That way we can give them a walkthrough. It's not showing?
Yeah, just give me a second.
We're cutting our teeth on this technology too.
So what we did is we modeled all the buildings within this block area. And this is the site we're discussing right now. That is the existing prior synagogue, prior church, now conversion. And this is the other set of units that we'll be discussing later on. And as you can see, the massing is in kind with a lot of the massing that's in the area. There are warehouses, there's other large religious buildings as well, which kind of dwarf even what we're doing here. So that's a little bit of the contextual aspect of this. So what I want you to gain from this is some of the green areas and the rooftop areas that we're doing, and let's just stick with 9 so I don't confuse anyone. So again, we'd be coming through here, and then again, this is one way, and then parking underneath, raised up on pilotis, and then we chose to do an exterior. We have both balcony and for each of the units, and the upstairs rooftop gardens. So that's that one. Thank you, Jeff. Can you scroll down, please? Is there another slide on this one?
Yeah, just one more.
Okay.
That's it.
Right. Okay. So this is somewhat rudimentary as far as where we are. We decided to go with some punch windows. This is what we're looking at from the south elevation. North elevation will be similar to that. I'm not sure why it's not coming up on here. I think we're having a little technical difficulty, but mirrored on both sides, if you will. Can you go back to the site plan again, please? Right. So in sum, they're small lots. We're meeting all the requirements with regard to size and so forth. We will require a variance. Japheth, can you zoom in on that? Thank you so much. We are looking at, we have 5,000 square foot lot area with an existing 2394. And I can't see that. Go back. No. Less is more. And I need this spot right there. Scale down one more, Jeff.
All right.
Not
Yeah, I
helping.
can get that stuff out of the screen.
Leave it right there. Just scroll up. Perfect. Next one down, please. Thank you. So we're looking at about 2,600 square feet. Obviously, it's all the plans that have been provided to you. We're going to be seeking some parking variances as well. So we have both just area and parking, and that's it. Obviously, we'll need a referral to zoning for that at some point in time when you feel appropriate. And that's essentially this project for, this pretty much encompasses both Lot 9 and Lot 10 as far as the presentation is concerned. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them at this time, unless you'd like to wait till the end of the presentation. Well,
Yeah, we'll wait, yeah.
okay, wonderful, wonderful. Would you please bring up the next project? Lot 9 and 10 are the same project, same lot. So we just discussed actually both of those projects. This is lot 25, consisting of 25 to 27 of Beale Street, and this is 25 and 26. So this is 25 on the left, 26 on the right, and we simply broke it down for submission and presentation purposes per lot, but I think it's a lot easier to discuss as a unit. What we have here is very similar circumstance to the other side. We have 3 families on one side. These are townhouse sort of up and down on both sides of that, broken at the center wall for the property line with a firewall. We'll obviously grant, the necessary rights of way and reciprocal easements that are necessary within the deeds and the use of the buildings. That'll be done at a later date. Can you please go to the next slide? So this is the existing religious building that we're discussing in the next phase of this. And this is the lot we're discussing right now. So what we've chosen to do is provide access here by moving this retaining wall back, providing a exterior Lula lift for ADA compliance that'll get you from the street to the upper level. We've chosen to do an arced retaining wall with steps that reaches up to here, and this whole plaza area will be sloped, getting us to this area. The drive comes through on this lot and comes through and around. And again, we provided parking spaces 4 in total in this area. And that brings us back around. We've also provided a sidewalk area that brings us down to West Union Street, and we have provided access here. We are still working out some of this, but this is the existing steps that are at Beale Street. There's also something else that happened over here. I'm not sure if there were steps at some time, but that may be another access point. We're not quite sure, but right now our plan is to provide stairs and retaining walls. This is a sheer slope of stone that will provide basically the access and readdress that existing entrance. So we have access all the way through the site for both the residents and public as they wish. Next slide, please. So with regard to the landscaping on this afforded us a lot more landscaping than the others because of the size of the lots and the amount of pavement that we have. So we reduced that pavement down to only that which is necessary for the drive area and the parking stalls. Obviously, we have a concrete sidewalk and area here, platform to get you into the building from the cars, and also crosswalk through. This is the fire stair on the exterior, but also gets you through to these steps over on this side. The rest of it, we chose to do a stone landscape underneath we have various trees that we supplied here. Those are listed in the plan, as well as some more landscaping along the edges, and that will be stepped accordingly with regard to those retaining walls. We still have lighting plans to work out and some other things. There were some concerns from one of the heritage and landmarks of what was happening with this area, and this new configuration, I believe, has addressed that for us, and we can address it with them at that point, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. Can we go to the next slide, please? So what we're looking at is, again, roof garden on the top, EPDM surface, asphalt pavers. We actually have looking at putting AstroTurf up there. So you do have a green area to play on. Again, some benches, some seats, things of that nature. All accessed by fire stair, both here. This is a formal fire stair that is enclosed with the elevator and elevator lobby. And this is a secondary means of egress, being an exterior metal fire stair.
So this building, between two buildings, you have a total of 6 units?
Yeah, that is correct.
But we only have 4 parking spaces, 2 of which are handicap.
That is correct.
Are these handicap units?
They are accessible because we do have an elevator.
You have the elevator. Okay.
Next slide, please. So this is some of the, what it would look like as far as the elevations are concerned of the building. Again, we have the top rooftop deck, we have pergola area, balconies along the side. This is the fire stair that goes onto, is that a Beal? I believe it's a Beal. And thank you. And so this is what we would be seeing from the lower section. And there's a large stone cliff here, and the stone comes up to this side where the religious building sits. So that, in a nutshell, is the presentation for the buildings themselves and the site plan. Again, they're small lots with regard to the amount of what we can do with them, but I think we've met all of the requirements with the exception of obviously some of the parking and a few area items.
Just a quick question before we transition to the next one. In one of the perspectives that I saw in your proposal, this building is fairly close to the existing church structure, old church structure. And the height of this as compared to the height of the church, this will be higher? It almost appears that this will be above that roof line.
That's a good question. Jacka, can you pull up the 3D program to allow us to walk around? We'd like to come onto this side, and yes. So is the building taller? I think probably most likely at the elevator penthouse area. Can you give me more of a flat perspective? We're looking for the difference in height between this building and this building.
So while they're doing that,
Yes.
Yeah.
while they're doing that, in a 3-unit property, which is what in essence is going to be, is a handicap spot a requirement in residential?
Below, there might be a threshold. Usually it's, when there's 50 or below, there's 1 required, but because they're separating the property, they're not separating, they're keeping the properties separate and distinct. Each parcel has to provide 1 handicap parking space.
Even for a 3-unit?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have.
Yeah,
you could have three
I'll
people.
double check that threshold, but I believe yes.
Yeah, because is that something that can be waived or not? The real reason I'm asking is because
I
you got a
know.
3-unit property, and if nobody's handicapped, you got an empty spot. This
I-
doesn't make sense.
I agree. We can double check. Okay, sorry.
No, thank you very much.
So, yeah, it looks to be,
So the ridge here is just cutting in slightly to this location there. So you've got your elevator and fire stair tower here, and then we placed a pergola up above. So in relation to it, that's what you would be seeing on the side if you were a flat view, but obviously we're looking from the street at all times.
right, and just, I'm thinking if I'm standing on the street, on West Union Street, and looking, because these properties also will sit up from the street level.
Correct.
And I'm looking up, it's gonna be like a severe.
I don't think you're going to see it that way, only because you do have the rock cliff.
Mhm.
Japheth, can we see it from the other street, please?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about, we have West Union Street.
From here?
The view from there.
From
Yeah,
here.
Looking up at it, it's going
Correct.
to appear that it's really
So
high.
there's actually, to address that to the best that I can, we're not at the site to actually see it, but this is pretty much a sheer cliff. It actually sheared off this portion here. And it's very far set back than this. So when you're at the street, you barely can even see this building right now. There's a lot of trees, and it's also because of the elevation and where it's set, your view to actually see this building is very limited. You will see this building more.
We're looking at it right now, Sue, and there's a huge tree. You can't even see the back.
You can't see it from the street.
There's,
No, from a view,
From a view, yeah.
right, I'm
Correct.
talking about Union.
Oh, you want to see Union?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Japheth, would you mind, please?
the front of the church, the front of what was the church. That's the view I'm thinking about.
Can you give us a perspective from the street? Keep in mind, we do have a retaining wall up in front, and then we have the
Right.
church, and then our building is actually set, the newer building is set further back. So it's an interplay.
But you do indicate needing a height variance for these properties and the properties across the street.
I need to take a look at the plan, that is my recollection.
Okay, it is in your table.
Thank you. Yes. And those height variances are primarily for the tower areas, only because we're getting an elevator up there and a stair to the top.
Have you had any conversations with the zoning enforcement officer with regards to these drawings to talk to him about what variances would be required as he looked at your current stuff? I know he looked at the original.
He looked at the original and not much has changed. So
Okay.
we're still dealing with the same number of parking spaces, the same setbacks and things of that nature.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Jeff, can you pull this to the right, please? The view? No trees in the way, of course. There you go. So that's what we're looking at. And we don't have this curved area modeled into a model just yet, but more landscaping for that. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or on this one, comments? If not, I'd like to move to the others. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you. So this is 24 West Union. This was previously a synagogue and then it was a church. And now we are rehabilitating the building to utilize commercial on the first floor and 4 apartments on the second floor. That will also require a zoning variance for the 4th unit. Can we go to the, you know what, stay here for a moment. So one of the comments was we're leaving the front facade as it is, fenestration. What we're able to do is provide this and this as far as the commercial space is concerned. And then this window, what we've done is we've created a cutout in the floor here that comes all the way up so that this window is going to be viewable from the downstairs space. So that way we can leave the window intact. These 2 windows end up being, they're either in the apartment or in the hallway, I'm not quite sure. I need to take a look at that. Can you go to the next slide, please? One more? You have a floor plan? Not on this one?
No, this one.
Okay.
I don't think we got a floor plan with your new submission.
Fair enough.
I think we had the original when they were connected.
I see. Okay. Jeff, bring us back to site plan, please. Okay, so this being the site plan, a couple of things need to happen between these two properties. Right now, there is a appendage of a building that's here that was an addition, which is in really bad shape. So that is planned on being demolished. This portion of the church is going to remain. And unfortunately, they built it about 4 feet into the other property. So we're going to do a lot line modification amendment to encompass that so that each one of these lots sits as a whole regarding the buildings. From West Union Street, you would enter this little plaza area here. You can either go up through the light utility lift or you can come up the steps and then you come into a sloped plaza area, which brings you up into the building at this entrance point. Along the side, nothing has changed here other than that we are planning on doing the steps. This is again a continuation of the same set of steps coming from this property to be able to access. Make sense? Building stays as it is. Again, it's a use item that we're going for here. You zoom in here, please. So the only variance we're looking for on this one is we've got a height variance of 3 feet, which is the existing building. So.
And parking.
And then parking. Yes, that is correct. So parking, the additional apartment, and height, which again, it exists over the allowed limit. Can we go to the other plan, please? So for this one, we tried to add a little landscaping where we could. We placed some trees here. Those will be, new 12-foot diameter trees at this location. And these are going to be more ornamental in style as far as that's concerned. There will be landscaping here, which is not being shown on this plan. That's kind of where we're at. Next one. Elevations. Front, rear, side. This is, where are we here? This is the side. This is facing a Beal on this side. So this is the appendage here that needs to be knocked down. It's just in really bad shape. This will remain because that becomes part of the access of the church on both sides. So that's balanced, symmetrical. And there we go. So for this one, we'll obviously going to need some secret determinations and looking at most likely historic tax credits for this. So we'll have to go through that process with SHPO.
Okay.
That portion that's going to be demolished, does that have any historic significance to it?
No, it's a shed that was built after.
Correct. Obviously, SHPO will make a determination, but yes, it's an appendage, not part of the original.
So the church is basically going to be 2 floors,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes, we have the main floor. Can you show, here we go. So this is our mid-level landing, which comes into the space here. And then this is the top of the second floor height, which is essentially where the congregation is. And that is going to be split up into various units. And we're going to keep the windows, et cetera. We've been able to work those
Right.
things out with the layouts.
Okay.
So this is much more of a restoration and a new use that's been altered to accommodate. That's our presentation for the project.
Thank you.
So the way the configuration goes right now with four separate properties, is it? 5?
5.
There's going to be quite a few challenges with getting the easements and where utilities are going and all that to handle all these properties. I just want to know why were the properties not combined into one, just kept separate? Why are they being kept separate?
Sure. So discussion we had last time, which was a determining factor as to why we chose to do it this way. The fact of the matter is, if we go to if we delete the lot line, then we get into a 6-family unit. And once you get into a 6-family unit, then you get into affordable housing regulations. By leaving them there, they remain as 3 families each, which is permitted by right. So although there are essentially, they're it's more legalese as far as writing up the cross easements, but
It's
yes.
also taxing too, because 3-family homestead, where anything above 3-family is non-homestead.
True.
Since the regulation allows.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems that there's like, so you're gonna have cross easements for access, parking, utilities, usage, probably maintenance agreements, I'm assuming, refuse collection, and you're gonna have just a whole gamut of various legal agreements encumbering all of these properties.
Correct.
And it just seems a little.
It works though.
Okay,
I mean, sometimes it can be done through just one particular agreement referencing the file maps of the plan.
So when you enter in the building, you're gonna use the same entryway, the same elevator and stair system to get into the 2 separate buildings?
That is correct on each lot. So, for instance, Jeff, can you go back to the other, show me the site plan, please? So there's a single elevator and fire stair, and this is a fire stair as well, exterior, but this bank serves both buildings. So 3 families on one side, 3 families on the other. This would be a combined maintenance agreement and egress agreement. Then you would have an agreement for the access drive, and obviously sidewalk and parking. Parking, ideally, one would go to one side, one would go to the other, but we'll see how that
So
works
when
out.
you go
Maybe assigned
up
parking.
the stairs or to the top of the elevator, there's going to be a firewall separation between the buildings?
Correct. So the firewall, there's no firewall required on the lower level. That will most likely be, we're probably thinking about reinforced concrete and a reinforced concrete deck on the underside. Above that, we can do whatever we like, and then the firewall would stem from this point to this point between the building, and wherever there's an opening, obviously there'd be a fire-rated door or what have you. But the elevator area, the stairs, the access ways, those would be cross easements and cross maintenance agreements.
And then when you get to the rooftop, that would all be shared space as well?
It's essentially all shared space. It's open space, and yes, it's shared.
Could be one level on the top
Yes.
for both buildings.
Yes.
How's the firewall being handled?
Firewall goes to the underside of the roof deck.
Not parapeted,
Pardon?
not parapet, not cutting through?
No. As long as we can help it. We have to look at the building code for that, and normally you will see that, but it may
Insurance,
not.
the insurance background I have just says firewall should go all the way up through it, that's all.
Right, it's usually an independent structure, but in certain cases, we can extend it right up to the underside of the roof. But I thank you for that, and I'll certainly look at that further.
Can we go to that bird's eye view?
While we're talking about utility connections, so you're gonna have like water, sewer, gas, electric. Are they gonna be separate for each side of the building, or are they gonna be shared services coming in and then split?
That's going to be dependent on the utility company and what they're going to allow us to do.
Okay,
I would think they would be split at the street and come in.
yeah, you're gonna have, I think the water's gonna require separate laterals. I don't know about sewer, I mean, same with your sanitary sewer connections.
It all makes sense.
Everything's gonna have to be separate, and all the buildings will have to be done separately.
Well, we'll have this side and we'll have this side, and then we can run them through this way and run them through this way, or
Yeah.
run them through a singular trench of what is allowed.
The bird's eye view, of the whole complex.
Sure.
On the slide there.
There we go.
So while that gives a good representation of the scale of each of the buildings compared to the neighborhood, and I don't know if I'm speaking for the rest of the board here, but I know that landmarks is going to probably require some visuals of, and I would like to see that as well from our board, visuals of how these other buildings look and the colors of your building from different vantage points, you know, like all of the buildings around are black right now. So, you know what I'm talking about?
I do. We did submit photos and we can certainly provide photos if that's okay with you. Modeling all these buildings with the actual what they are and who knows what shape they're in, it's going to be a little difficult. For our buildings, we are right now proposing a hardy board. I think, do you remember?
I think do not have a little bit of a zoomed in picture.
I believe we do. Can you show me that?
With the proposed buildings?
With the
I
kind
think-
of.
Well, of our buildings.
Right.
And
How your buildings are going to be, how like a street view with what the buildings are around the neighborhood now with your building in, you know, insert.
More of a visual simulation, a photo simulation, where you take an existing shot of what is present and then you put into that photograph your building
Mhm.
so that you can see it in street view with the photographs of the existing structures on either side or surrounding the area.
we'll do our best.
Yeah.
And then also, just so that you guys know, like, when you're on that street, a lot of the buildings are kind of falling apart, are in really, really bad shape. So the goal was to kind of do something that kept the essence of the area and didn't overpower the area, and that's why we kind of went with wood kind of colors and softer, you know, kind of natural colors, because we don't want to put something super industrial in a residential area. And I think we do, if I'm not mistaken, don't we have some sort of pictures? I know it's of the next one, maybe.
So for the buildings, we're choosing a James Hardy siding, which will be a much lighter color. Because of the modeling and the way this is done, this is how it shows up. When you actually see the siding that we're planning on using, which will be a horizontal clapboard siding, you know, that lends itself to it.
So does Heritage and Landmarks have to weigh in on this too?
Yes, oh, yes, absolutely, yes.
No, because
Have they been, no, I mean, okay, but have you been before Heritage?
We had one meeting.
Yeah. Just
Combined.
an idea.
Okay.
And they've given you feedback to kind of,
They did, and we addressed it in our newer work.
And this one right here, if you can bring that one up.
But you have, they have to go back. So they're-
But just
Okay,
so that we're having.
They wanted, Landmarks and Heritage wanted them to come to planning board because there was the subdivision or lot line deletion involvement at the time. So now that that's no longer on the table, I think that it's probably appropriate to go back to them, as well as to go for zoning variances.
Yeah.
I would think the variances would be something you might want to pursue first.
So it's gonna be.
That's
it's gonna be
a
like
better
whole-
representation. It's not the representation, but it's a
Yeah.
better
But
representation.
it's just so you guys have an idea of kind of the style, the wood that's gonna be used. It's not gonna be like a gray concrete block. It's gonna be wood and alive and go with the foliage and everything of the area. We didn't want to make something that stood out and looked, you know, like.
is that the backside? What's that?
Yes.
A building.
That's the deal.
And these are apartments, correct, not condominiums, you're not
No,
saying?
these are apartments.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
These are
questions.
duplex apartments and well, in that one, those are duplexes.
Right.
And then in the one across the street, those are regular single-story apartments. So the goal is, you know, to make something that fit in and was, you know, modern in a way, but still, you know, not overpowering.
What we didn't want to do was, and we had this discussion with Landmarks and with Heritage, in that we didn't want to mimic existing historical buildings, because it makes no sense to do so. Then you have this sort of muddy waters as to what was original, what is not, and you really can't do a good presentation that way. So that's why we chose to go this way, which is a complementary contrast.
And we've had other projects in the city that follow the same kind of concept that you're talking about, right? You don't want to duplicate, you want to complement. some of the surrounding.
And really, it really does showcase and jewel out the buildings that are historic in compared to the rest.
Yeah.
Flatbush is an example.
Yeah,
Houses,
exactly.
yeah.
Kingston too, you know, yeah, Buckers is good. I mean, we're kind of treating this like a gateway meeting tonight, because it's it's a different proposal as to what was, at the last meeting we had, so, we're not gonna make any decisions tonight, but I was, going back to that visual of the surrounding area, and I know that, I agree that there are some different, variations of neglect or
Yeah, it's just
building
sounded-
styles, but if you can give us something, in our next meeting to show how the surrounding areas look with these colors and the buildings in there. I mean, this is a good representation. It's all true to scale, but for me, and maybe landmarks may want to see it, heritage too, you can,
Oh, I know they will.
so, I mean, it'll be something
I
that
believe that's
you'll
part
be,
of what they
you'll be
asked.
doing for, I didn't know what they had asked for, so. But if you can give us a visual, with your building, planted and having the surrounding buildings to see how it complements.
I think what I'd like to also do is show the bridge. I mean, that's a large structure, and it really sets a tone to everything that's here.
And so, I mean, and that makes sense too, from different vantage points, not just from, right on the street, but how it looks from the bridge or,
Sure.
Okay. Absolutely.
And we do have this 3D model in our program, so we can give you just about any view that you want. If you want a view from here, we can take it from there, or we're happy.
Yeah, I think obviously, most people don't view it from the drone atmosphere.
Right.
So I think from different vantage points where people will actually be walking, driving, in the roundabout area, I think that's the best way to provide the perspectives to any of the boards and commissions that are reviewing this.
And I would say that probably where you're at the bridge, you're standing at the bridge and you're looking at a wheel and you're looking at the gas station, what does this look like behind you?
Right.
If you're standing on the corner of Post Street and Worth Street or a little bit up, you're coming down Worth Street, what is it that we're seeing? If you're coming down Beale Street or you're coming up Beale Street, what is it that you see up on the hill? I think probably only like 4 intersections per se, but I think that's what, you're going down the bridge, you're coming down Worth Street, you're coming up from Broadway, people are gonna look, what are these 4 vantage points with the scale? I think that's probably what the boards will look for.
Yeah.
If that gives you.
I'm happy to provide that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Kingstonian folks did that. That was very helpful.
Right.
And from the different points uptown.
Yeah, they hit like 4 or 5 intersections, so if you're sitting on a light, what are you looking at?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be an intersection either. I mean, I would definitely, you want one from Beale Street, and you want one from the West Union side. And then I think the bridge is a great idea to take one from.
I mean, you gotta get, people are looking at a gas station, but are we looking at something towering the gas station? Is it something
Right.
kind of hidden behind the gas station? Like, what is it? That's the question people are gonna ask.
Okay.
And I would love to see or hear what Landmark and Heritage weigh in on this, just to fit with the historical character of the neighborhood, the facades and whatnot. I want to see what they say first, so then we can adjust from there.
If I may, they had actually suggested that we use the horizontal clapboard type siding, and that's why we ended up choosing the Harding. And my apologies that it's not really scale. We're trying to get that fine tuned in this model. But you're going to see a different array of colors, usually in more of a wood grain type, almost a cedar look, if you will. Okay, kind of striated. So that's the intent.
So a lot of your trim will be metal, or is it what I think I saw, was it metal trim?
We'll probably end up doing, aluminum clad windows, or excuse me, aluminum windows with some sort of anodized finish on it. And then we'll probably bring the siding right to the edge of it so that it doesn't really have a,
Non-reflective glass, or,
if it's required.
and just as a point, the city has adopted energy stretch code.
Okay.
Okay, so that will require some you want to look into that with the building department in terms of,
I'm
Structure
scheduled to take the
materials.
course, I'm code certified myself.
Okay.
I gotta get scheduled for that. I actually just
Okay.
signed up for next month.
okay. So
Yeah.
that's just so you know that the city has adopted that, so that
Great.
will be,
I'm glad to know.
yeah, okay.
Have you been thinking about achieving some level of energy efficiency, some certification?
No. No, we'll meet the building code and
Right.
we'll do what we can where we can.
Mhm. EV charging stations, you're not putting any on site?
Hasn't been suggested. I don't know if he wants to do that. That's something we can contemplate.
We can
Just curious.
definitely, we could definitely give the option to tenants.
Okay.
You know, if, and we definitely want to encourage tenants to have that, so if they want that, if they have EV cars or want to get an EV car, we want to accommodate to them for that.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I just bought one myself, so.
And you'll check into that, handicap parking code?
Yes. Look at that.
And the regulation is 1 up to 49, because of the
Yeah.
configuration. This is a kind of unique situation, so I'm not sure how we'll handle that.
I mean, there are ways to get waivers from the code. They're not easy to get, from what I understand.
Well, it depends. I mean, I've been able to get several waivers from New York State Coast Division on different items, and this might be one of them, given the circumstance. Because you're right, it makes no sense to have 2 stalls there. Let's say there's no one in the building who needs them. Then what do you do?
Did rec fees get applied in this thing?
No.
No, they
That's
won't.
4 different properties with, they didn't, okay.
There is no, just for discussion's sake, there is no intent to put a dumpster on site, so there's just no trash collection there, just 3 family homes.
How would trash collection be done? Individually?
Each person would take out their own trash.
No, but each property would have its own, I mean, there's not gonna be like one, because you're doing properties in very close proximity. You're not gonna have like one area on one site dedicated for refuse for
No.
all of these, so that you can do a private hauler collection type.
We're, to this point, we have been looking at this be one garbage collection point, another garbage collection point.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just simply, municipal refuse, garbage cans, et cetera. We'll have a location on site, obviously, so they can store their cans and leave it at that.
Tenants aren't gonna walk across the street with garbage, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
They don't even want to take it to the curb.
Just ask.
And where I live, I have to drive mine to the curbs.
I got a question about guest parking. We're gonna have any capability for that on the site?
We have allocated whatever we could for parking. The rest of it has to come from,
Back to the handicap parking, people did have guests, on parking, ADA compliant spot. I mean, I think you would have to have something available. If they have company that need. I wouldn't suggest eliminating.
I wouldn't either, and I agree with you. If we can leave one spot,
At least
or
one
make some sort of designation of that,
100%. 100%.
And it's only that one building that only has 4 spots. The other building has
Right.
more spots.
Yeah.
or if I may, what might be a good idea, because these are residential, we're not commercial, so we really don't have that requirement. That's another thing. We really don't have the requirement for ADA compliance for that because they're residential units. What might be smart is to do one ADA compliant stall on the street that someone can utilize. And then all these could be utilized for any other purpose. Rather than displacing 2 here, that means 4 on the street, we can actually take 4 cars back, right? And the practical use of it. And I think that works best.
The ADA parking space on the street would have to go through the common council. Okay, it would be an action by them. And obviously it can't be dedicated to you as a property owner. It would be open to anybody and everybody in the entire neighborhood, just so That's understood.
Of course.
Okay. And do any other board members have any questions or comments that you want to make now? Because I'm going to give some direction, I think. I mean, I believe that it's appropriate to give them, tell them to move to the zoning board and seek those variances. At the same time, I would then be going back to the landmarks and the Heritage Commission. I also think that because of the number of easements, right-of-ways that we're talking about, start putting that listing together and start, we're going to be working through our corporation council to make sure that those, are appropriately recorded, because they will ultimately have to be recorded with the county clerks.
Yes, Mr. Allegheny and his attorney and I have been in discussion
With
Okay.
with discussing that.
Okay.
since our last meeting.
Matt in the corner, Matt is our
Hi, Matt.
court counsel, so he would be the one who
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Understood, thank you.
And are you currently scheduled to go before the next meeting for landmarks in here?
We aren't scheduled for anything at the moment.
So I guess like what jumped out at us was the views from the different vantage points, right?
Mhm.
Views from street level with different buildings around. And as this process goes on, I mean, the better representation of the colors, the windows, the materials being used. Those are things that jumping out at me. So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're gonna be doing obviously more we need floor plans. They'll obviously have changed now, maybe since the original submission, so we'll need all floor plans, the lighting plans, all of that, as you go forward. But I would first really go through the ZBA and get again in front of landmarks and heritage. Deadline for them is Thursday, landmarks and heritage.
Thursday for landmarks and heritage, and then
I don't
zoning, because we're gonna have to, so my thought process is it's yours, the same, that we go to zoning, ensure that we can do these things,
Right.
and then move forward, right?
Yep,
So I think that would be the first appropriate thing to do.
I agree.
Any other questions?
And I would get with Eric right away and just make sure that you list everything, that you're potentially could need as a zoning variance.
Well, that's all listed in the bulk table, so
Yeah.
that's there.
Just confirm with him, let him, he has to make that confirmation, that he doesn't determine there's something else out there that you're not looking at.
I'll have them look at it again. We did 2 rounds with Eric
Yeah.
already, and I think we've got it all, but I will
Okay.
be certain to do
Make
that.
sure you don't have to go back again.
I do have a question. Do we need a referral from this board to go to zoning?
No.
Okay.
All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we table items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Robert Jacobson with the second. All in favor? What's that? Hold on a second,
Hold on.
too fast.
Want me to?
You got it right in one, good.
All in favor?
No, I can't look it up.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So nice meeting you guys.
That's seeing you again. Thank you, Robert.
Okay. Okay. I put them all on our decision document.
Thanks.
Yeah, usually when you're home, I see you standing, yeah.
A little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for America. Okay. Item 15.
Yes. So I need, I don't know if he's online yet, no. Well, I will was on before.
Let's take a better. That's better regards.
16. I have to repeat myself on that,
On 16?
on 16.
Okay.
So,
Were you, so you, okay, so it was Luke that you were involved with, okay, because stepping
No
aside
worries.
from the
You're
list.
kind of set up.
Just wanted to
Yes,
make
you
sure.
should be down here, there are
even like
outlets.
that's the last item agenda,
Here's one back
you
here.
need to stay or your.
Any bird that suits you, there's benches.
You can just recuse and
We're
then.
in a tight room.
Yeah, there's nothing.
For permission.
You're here for 15.
I'm here for 50, but once I get to 60, I steal And thank you for scheduling it that way. I appreciate it.
I didn't do it intentionally. Well, thank you for
For
following.
future
me
meetings,
home.
why don't you make sure that happens?
Thank you for following me home the other day.
And then I saw you walking in North Banner, I'm like, is she lost again?
Yeah, my car, I still don't know what happened. It's still sitting in the driveway.
All right. Item 15 is 63 Golden Hill Drive, it's a site plan / subdivision for construction of intergenerational affordable mixed income, 160 unit housing.
Okay.
Section block and lot is 56.40-1-19.300. Seeking determination, zone RRR, Ward 3. Worcester County is the owner and Penrose, New York Developer LLC is the applicant. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us, everybody.
Well, I guess we'll cascade down and mention your team here, you know, what are the names of the record.
Happy to. I'll start off, everybody. I'm Will DeBella with Penrose. Brought a number of people from our team here. Roger, do you want to go first?
Sure, Roger Keating, I'm the civil site engineer from Labella Associates.
Oh, no, did I just cut that off?
And I'm Bruce Chamberlain. I'm the project manager for WRT Architects.
Tom Johnson, traffic engineer from Labella Associates.
Heather Ugando, civil engineer from Bell Associates.
I'm Michael Berg, I work for Family in Woodstock, will be providing support services for the 48 units of supported housing.
I'm Dennis Doyle. I'm the planning director for Ulster County.
Welcome, everybody.
Okay, we are just waiting for them.
I'm trying to, Ariel had emailed me that he couldn't see anyone that was speaking, so I was trying to get them on the screen, but it's not ideal.
So it is what it is.
Sue, it's not liking it today. I don't know why. I'll try.
I think this is the first time that we did this, right? It is the first time we've done this. This is.
It reached, well, maybe I can.
Are you using the link that Summer sent you?
Yeah. It's saying they're in the webinar now, so.
Because Will was on
Yep,
before,
much better.
so
It
yeah,
was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Worked for me.
How were the refreshments in the
The lighting was a little low, but the refreshments were good. It's like being in a movie theater.
He's-
You see me now on there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so now let me make you, hang on, co-host.
It says connecting to audio.
I don't want to do that, though, do we?
And you are co-host, so you should be good to share.
So we're gonna make a presentation tonight with some
Yes.
changes.
If you do connect to audio, if you have to, you can just mute and turn the volume to.
Okay, I'm just trying to share my screen at this point. No.
There you go. We see you.
Oh, you can?
Well, yes. I see you on mine.
Okay.
So you're on as a consultant.
Yeah. Guess I do this. See any, my screen now?
That's no. Okay, I see.
Oh, I'm telling you, now you can see my face on there.
I can see your face.
But it's not letting me share. Ah,
Got
there
it?
we go.
Okay.
It finally popped. So we would want to.
There we go.
It's just really, really slow. Okay. They are. Bruce, I'm Roger Keating again from LaBelle Associates. Will, do you want to do a brief introduction or?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Just want to thank everyone for having us back. We're really excited to be back in front of all of you today in person. We're really excited about the progress we've made since the last time we come in front of you. And today, we just want to walk through some of the highlights of the documents that we sent around, and I'm sure you've all had a chance to review, and take some questions, comments. And with that, I'm going to turn it to Bruce back in the corner to walk through.
Thanks, Will. So what we wanted to do is kind of share with you some of the ideas. Can we go to the site plan, please?
All right. Somebody else have control of it? Or is it just delayed? It's very slow, sorry.
There we go.
Okay.
Wonderful. So I wanted to start the explanation of the architectural treatments with the site plan, because I think that's where kind of all our concepts started to originate, was the basic planning of the complex itself. As you can see, really none of the buildings really front the street. I mean, there's what we've done is we've taken the buildings and they start to frame courtyards throughout the site, and each of the courtyards kind of have a different purpose. But the whole idea is to really create sort of an interior exterior environment where the buildings, there's really no front or back to the buildings, which started to kind of govern our treatments. The other thing I wanted to do is kind of point out a few of the kind of important features about the buildings. I mean, essentially we've got, as you can see, a number of different types of buildings, and they're all different scales. We've got a one-story building here that's our community hub, that's going to have fitness center, it's going to have a community room, it's going to have the daycare center, and ranges all the way up to the senior building, which has 80 apartments, 4 stories tall, another mid-rise that's 3 stories, and then we've got 4 townhouse style buildings that have 9 units in them each. So we've got a range of scales, and so when you start to think about that architecturally and you want to provide sort of a cohesive look, how do you go about doing that? So that's been sort of the challenge for us as we've started to develop the elevations and the treatment. So what I wanted to share with you tonight is to kind of walk through the elevations. What we've prepared is a series of perspectives that show you what it's like to kind of walk through the site. So you see different vantage points as we start to move through the campus itself. So Roger, if we can advance to the next one.
So
looks good over here. 5 minutes.
Just envision what this looks like. Yeah, so this has been we've worked a lot with Will's office in terms of some of the different options that we have for the buildings, and it's really been, as I said, with the different size buildings, kind of a challenge to deal with how you can break them down in scale. And so we've developed kind of a motif with all the buildings where there's sort of a reveal in the building that breaks up these long elevations. And each of those reveals is really going to have like a balcony in it, so that all the units have some ability to be outside. Not only can you get outside, but you also have access by a balcony, which we thought was very important for many of the units to have, not just the townhouses, but the 3 and 4 story the mid-rise buildings.
And
I'm wondering if it's because you're on the public Wi-Fi and we are on
thinking
the
the
city.
same
I
thing.
wonder if do I have your current plans that, I mean, I could maybe share them. We do have hard copies also.
Let's load it on the shared drive under the application.
Which ones you have? You have the one that we sent to you?
Yeah.
Because I have a flash drive with, what we did is we kind of narrowed down all the images. I think we have
Okay.
about 25, so I've got this flash drive that has just the elevations.
See if that works better.
Yeah, this is really slow.
It's down at the bottom. Excuse me.
It still hasn't changed. Oh, no.
So we'll wonder when that loads up, if there's some other questions that the board have or some other issues that we could address while we're waiting for that to load.
Yeah. Let's start. Well, first, we developed a series of staff notes that got circulated to the board. They are very lengthy, so I expect that you all read them, right? Yes. So couple of the changes since you've seen this last is that the number of units has increased from 160 to 164, okay? The daycare will be for 30 students, and that will be in the community building, as Bruce stated. The other changes are that they've submitted, they did their traffic study. That has been reviewed by GPI on the city's behalf. I sent you their study, their results, their interim preliminary report. We sent it to the applicants. They're reviewing it. They'll be preparing a response back to us on that. So we're waiting on that. The SWIP has been submitted. It's being reviewed right now by our city engineer. He did some preliminary comments. I did some comments. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I'll be drafting my comments also, and we'll be getting all of that back to you as well. A couple of things that we do, the project is now called Golden View. So I had a conversation with Roger, and all the communications and all the documents will now.
Okay, it's not Golden.
It's not Golden View now, okay.
Golden Hill.
It will be Golden.
It will be Golden, okay, all right.
So there's one document that has it the
Okay.
other way. We'll make sure that it's Golden.
Okay,
Golden.
okay. So let me make a note of that. Okay, so everything's gonna have to be just reflecting that.
That's.
Okay,
Okay, we're.
you guys saved the day.
So
Alright.
this is, there are 4 images I wanted to just walk through. This is one of the images here, excuse me. Yes. We have a key plan up in the corner that kind of shows where the view is, but this is a view looking back. We're in the kind of the center of the townhouse area, but start to see some of the architectural treatments that we're beginning to implement here. I think primarily what we're looking at is a vertical vinyl type of siding, and then the use of stone around the base for a lot of practical reasons. It's easier for maintenance, and it's also a nice accent. So we're looking at using that throughout, and it's going to vary where we do it, depending on the vantage point of where you are on site. But in this case, one of the entrances to the units is on the end, so we're using stone there to kind of accentuate that. But here you see kind of the main architectural elements that I introduced earlier about the idea of these recesses to break up the scale of the buildings. And they're going to also have a balcony, which also forms an entrance canopy to the units itself to protect it in inclement weather. So that you're going to see that kind of as a repetitive element throughout the site and used in different ways. But again, the idea that the buildings are shaped or positioned to start to shape and create outdoor space. And again, no front or backs. That was kind of a key. If I could have the next one, please.
Right.
So we're just kind of walking through the site again. These are the 3-story townhouses, and you're starting to see the 4-story senior building in the back. And that also starts to introduce some of the same motifs where we have the recesses, especially important in a building like this, which is a large scale building, where the elevations are about 160 feet in length. So it really does break up the scale. We're starting to repeat some of the same window patterns, the same architectural treatments and the same materials.
So the 4-story is going to have flat roof and.
The senior
others
building was
will
going to have a flat roof, that's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Okay, and the other 4-story multi,
We're looking, that's actually 3 stories. And
okay,
it's going to be an elevation similar to this, where it'll
Okay.
have these recesses, but we're looking at the different roof forms for that now.
okay,
Our preference is to have some sort of gable treatment on that, so that we could start to put the condensers on the backside and they're not cluttering on the ground.
some nice views too,
Excuse me?
nice views. probably,
Yeah, oh, much
that
better.
way.
Yeah, no, that would be our preference, so we're looking into it. But again, the whole idea of applying an architectural treatment to many different types of buildings with many different sizes. Could I have the next one, please? And again, as I'm walking through, you're starting to come around. This is the drive as you're coming in. So this is where you come in past the community hub and you're coming in and you're seeing the end of the senior building. Again, the idea of using stone to kind of being an accent so that that's kind of shows that's an important part of the building, and also to give you an idea of some more texture as we walk through the campus. But you can see how these 2 and 3 story recesses really help to break that up, and the balconies are really kind of a nice amenity that also provide a little bit of scale for the buildings. We're looking at a roof type deck at the 3rd level of this building for the senior residents as another amenity. And the entrance is this recess back here. And I think we have one more slide of, there you go. So this is standing back and looking up. And so here's the entrance to the building. So you can kind of see both of the architectural treatments. Again, the idea of using stone at the ends is more of an accent, and then carrying the stone around as the base. But balconies, the different treatments for the vertical siding. I think one of the things that we're trying to do is develop a horizontal here to start breaking up the height of the building, which I think will really help that, rather than what we're trying to do is really, with this eave height, start to kind of give you a sense of scale and a sense of like defining a space, defining the edge of a room. And that's it for the perspectives. I did want to include a few of the elevations themselves, so you can see that we're looking at different window treatments or different window patterns. This is what you might say the back, and then the next slide is the front, which has a little bit of a different, the way that we've gathered the windows in the center to form a different pattern throughout. And I think the last slide that I have here is of the 4 stories buildings that is the senior building. And again, the whole idea of the 3-story recess with the balconies, and start to really develop a nice window pattern where the larger windows are for the living rooms, the secondary windows are for the bedrooms. The idea of just providing a space for the seniors have an opportunity to look and take advantage of the view from their units. And I think the last one is the back side of this building, but the next one I'd like to just share a little bit about the community building, because this is kind of a special complex that we're working at with Family of Woodstock. The idea of having, like right at the entrance, this is the entrance coming in. We're going to have probably a low wall that'll say Golden Hill here, the entrance into the community hub itself. So we've got a couple spaces for children. We'll have infant and pre-K on this side, special staff areas for children that might have learning disabilities or need special assistance. And then it's about 30 children. And then we'll also have covered outdoor area and then access to the outside, and they'll have their own dedicated play area, which will be out here. So that's kind of an overview of where we are with the complex itself. I wanted to kind of share some of the images and walk through and get a sense of what the overall architectural character is that we're planning for Golden Hill. And at this point, I guess I'm questioning if you have any questions.
Building, then those 2 end spaces, those would be the community
Yes.
space?
Yep.
That's,
So you've got, this is the entrance for the residents. And so then this is community room that's set up with a kitchenette, so that if they have an event like a children's party or birthday party, they can host it in here. And then the fitness center is here. We'd like to have the community room adjacent to the outdoor,
Right.
so that they can break out. And so in the summer, we can have programs out there. It just becomes a nice amenity. And it also becomes kind of a focal point for this courtyard that's at the end here.
So the daycare is going to be administered by a family, is that?
Yes, it is. And we're working with Michael's group. In fact, we met with them last week and just discussed the program with them.
We're planning on having not only a daytime, but also to have a second shift. there is virtually no childcare for nurses that have to work in the hospital, for example. So we're planning that, and this is very exciting for us to design a daycare and particularly focus on infants and toddlers.
So the second shift, what does that typically run to?
That'll run to a little after 11.
So in the write-up that 48 units will now be supportive.
Yes.
Where will those units be?
The 48 are those, we've got 22 for the elderly, and that's going to be the senior. The other ones are going to be scattered throughout the site. That's not going to be put in one location. There will be different units.
And I know you're probably, if you already have not been, you're going to be in contact with the recreation department about recreation fees. Where are you with that?
So we've got a figure that we're gonna provide Sue here on the next day or so, that will show, if you go to the landscaping plan really quick, if you go back to
Go back to the beginning.
first page, I think, which identifies all the different,
Go back.
actually, I'm sorry, like down that slide, yeah, so it's a little hard to see zoomed out, but interior to those areas, we've identified on a map where all the intergenerational play areas are, as well as the various types of outdoor recreation. And we've also included on this overall figure what the nature trails that we're proposing to take you from the top of the hill back down to the DOT right away. So we'll be able to supply that figure that just kind of highlights all those recreational components. And then, Sue, I guess you present or you provide that for the Parks and Recs to review. Is that?
We will refer it, but you should also, when we do, we'll copy you, and then you should start a dialogue directly with them.
Okay.
Okay?
We will, yep, thank you. So we'll provide that in the next day or so, and then we can ship that off to everybody.
And those fixed recreation sites that we just pointed to, like one will be for children, there's going to be some for.
It's actually intergenerational, so there can be both, elderly and children in some of the same spaces, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
correct? So
Yeah, the idea is, again, to provide a range of activity areas for all ages.
Okay.
And we do have dedicated for the daycare center, they're going to have their own play area, but the rest are going to be open up for the campus to kind of encourage people to kind of move throughout and take advantage of all the facilities.
And like behind the senior building, there's raised garden areas.
We have the
So
community
there's
garden
plants are
here.
Community garden areas for the residents to participate in, so.
Yeah, I noticed it was only in the one section. I was wondering if you would be putting any others kind of, because way off on one end of the project, I thought maybe adding another on the other end would be perfect. I like that idea. I thought that was a great idea.
We're doing another project with Penrose where it's also a senior complex, and the seniors in the complex, they love it. I mean, it's
Even
a
the
huge
school,
amenity.
preschool would probably like it.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's good.
Yeah, the preschool, that would
I
be.
didn't see bike racks at all on this.
What's that?
Bike racks.
We have bike rooms in these buildings here, and we will have to put bike
Interior,
racks.
So there's nothing exterior.
Yes, we have
Okay.
provided those in there. We should probably put a few around the campus, so if somebody's cycling from one area to another, they have a place to put it. But we do have bike rooms adjacent to the vestibules here.
Okay.
Are you taking steps for energy efficiency too?
Yes,
Planning on doing a lead certification or
it's not LEED certification, but there are a series of,
multifamily, EPA?
yes, I don't know offhand all the ones, but I know with the Penrose projects, there's a whole list of things that we will follow in order to achieve those. We're looking at solar on the roofs. So we're factoring that. We did an orientation in terms of the best way to orient the buildings. we're doing energy modeling of the buildings right now to kind of help us design the exterior of the buildings. So they will be compliant. Our office is committed to following, we have a program 2030, which is to get all their buildings into compliance. So, or to meet certain standards. And so this is going to be one of the projects.
And to add to that, we'll be pursuing EGC Plus certification for this project, which is a pretty significant hurdle with a net zero ready project. So these buildings will be fully electric and we'll be reusing as much renewable energy as possible with solar installations on each building where feasible.
So what would the type of heating be? Just electric based?
Electric based heating.
Dennis, I know when I was talking with Roger, he said that the county is doing the outreach to the school district. Where's that at right now?
We're starting that conversation. We'll try to have a meeting with the school district as soon as we can.
Okay. For the impact.
We pledged that meeting to the board and we'll certainly follow through.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, good. You might also want to start.
I would get, it's not just the county, it would be Pembroke. We would, as the applicant. I don't want to give the sense that it's the county meeting with the school district. That's not the case.
Okay. Another thing you might want to start is just reaching out to the postal service about because they get very particular about citing of their receptacles and numbers.
We have started that process.
So that's, just to start getting those dialogues going. would be a good thing.
We have talked to them and we're kind of midstream with them.
Right. Okay. And then as far as utilities, we had a internal meeting with the water department. So I think it's very important. The superintendent is retiring. There's a new superintendent. The old one will still be, she'll be hanging around for a little while. But I think that dialogue should take place if it has not already. It's indicated that there will be need to upgrade the distribution system for the project. So make sure that you start that, continue that, get that moving.
Did she give you did you get any specifics on that? I'm just there's a 16-inch main that runs up to this building and it used to serve a jail, so the concern would be is that what should be used by that for upgrades?
Specifics. I do know that obviously the system is county owned up there. But any connections have to be approved through the water board. And she talked about, like I said, she talked about the distribution system and the tanks, so.
Okay.
All right. We have asked for a letter, but we don't get it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you've been doing some test borings to see if blasting needs to be done, or where's?
We have been doing test borings and I think we're doing some more actually.
Yeah, we commissioned one boring study. It's been completed. That was sufficient for the size of the building for our original plan. We've ordered a second set to better fit the nature of the current site plan with a second multi-family building. We'll have that scheduled in months to come.
Okay.
The key here is that we have attacked the site plan in a way that we brought a lot of the areas up based upon the geotechnical borings that we had done. The area really that is probably the last to figure out is the building that's on the right-hand side here, where there's a few more borings that are going to be planned, so that we can just determine if we need to really get down into that rock or not. But we've been working on the rock issue from day one here to try and minimize any potential impacts as it relates to that. So,
okay. And kind of along those lines, with the material that's going to be dug up through the overburden, whatever, you're going to basically use what you ripped up there. You're going to have to truck in anything else?
well, you're gonna have to truck in, sub-base for your building pads, for your roadways, your parking lots. We're gonna want, good material underneath those areas. But really try to, reuse as much as you possibly can out there from that perspective, but, some of the pavement millings, we can mill the pavement, we can reuse some of that in some of those areas, from that perspective, especially in future parking lots, but obviously we're building, new structures, we're gonna want, good structural material underneath those.
We have talked about the applicants providing hauling routes.
Yeah, you mentioned that this week, that was something that was likely gonna be in your correspondence, and we'll just have to coordinate with the city engineer's office if there's something specific as to, the direction of traffic, from that perspective, but we can most certainly work with the department on preparing a figure that, identifies the potential hauling routes.
As far as the subdivision goes, the subdivision map that we have on file that you submitted technically isn't really a subdivision map. So we'd like to start moving that along.
Okay.
I don't know who's going to be doing it, but I would suggest that you take a look at the subdivision regs for the city. Article 5, I believe it is, has all of the requirements for the plat map.
Okay.
Because we want to incorporate that into our public hearings, so
Sure.
that document would be a vital document to have.
Sure, not a problem.
All right.
Do you want to jump to talk about the public hearing?
Sure.
Just one quick note, I just happened to think of something that you folks were Chazen and now you're LaBelle.
That is correct.
All right.
Yes.
Wanted to
So,
see everybody seeing that all over.
No, yeah, so, all of last year, we were the Chazen Companies, a LaBelle company, and, beginning of the year, we've officially changed the name to LaBelle.
I knew that, I assumed, everything I was reading today still said Chazen.
Yeah, so
In case everyone others were wondering.
we're in the process of changing some title blocks and things like that, so maybe by the end we'll have that switched over completely, but, it's still okay for us to, display it as it's at the moment. It's,
Just keep going. 15 to 8, that's. Talking about the special, a public hearing. We could schedule a public hearing and have it virtual. Just take care of the public hearing, and we can keep it open, if we don't think there's not enough information available at some time, we can certainly keep it open. But we don't have to wait till the next meeting to have a public hearing. So.
I would think it would probably be better to have a separate public hearing versus the regular schedule.
And I'm sure that there will be some folks from the neighborhood up there and other folks that would certainly want to weigh in on this project. We've had some communications already from some folks.
Right.
So I think we should have a public hearing and then have a separate one other than our regular, next scheduled regular meeting. We good with that? Okay. And you're just
The
checking.
the public hearing would be a couple of things. If you can hold it virtually if you do it before April 15th. Okay, and April 15th is a Friday, so we're not doing it that night. So probably that week would be the best. I think what we'll do is we will share our staff notes with the applicants immediately so they can start working on things and hopefully getting some of the additional information together. I think that the hearing, if it's virtually held, we would do a very short, another presentation, very short at the beginning to identify change or updated information for the general public. It'll also, everything will get posted on the website as long as it's provided to us. It would be a public hearing that would cover seeker, it would cover subdivision, it would cover site plan, and it would cover special permit, okay? And it would be noticed that way specifically. So all of those would be open topics for anyone to bring their discussion to. If we do it virtually, it's not an issue with a meeting room. So I would be looking at the week of the 11th I'm thinking Wednesday, the 13th.
I just throwing out there, and I don't have kids, but I think
That
we
is
could
spring
have
break
done
for
this spring break
It
for
is.
school.
I won't be here.
Okay,
I won't be here either, I'll be in Florida. I mean, if it's virtual, it doesn't matter, but
no.
Sure.
Well, we need time's
I mean, if it's
notice
virtual-
too,
if it's
so.
virtual, we can log in from other states, that works, otherwise I won't be here either.
You can't, yeah, I mean, right now, with the governor's order, you can log in from another state without any
I
issue.
mean, for folks who aren't, from our board who aren't gonna be in town, so do you have a problem going, I mean, I know you'll be, I don't, I'm just asking now.
depends on which day of the week.
I mean, I put you on the spot, but, you say no, that's acceptable.
Well, we look at the week before then. We look at the week of April 4th to the 8th.
That week is.
We can't do the 7th, I can tell you that, because that's a meeting that Carla and I have to be at. Let's see, Monday night would be caucus, Tuesday night would be council.
This is virtual. You're not a part.
I know, I'm just thinking for maximum participation, I try not to do it on another night where there is a meeting. I'm looking at the 6th, April 6th.
Is that a Wednesday night?
Yes,
That's the county planning board.
it's county planning board.
Not that I'm that critical for a public meeting, but I would like to be there.
We could do it April 4th, it would be caucus night. That would give, I'm just looking
Because
at,
they're usually later, aren't they? What time is council meeting? Are they later than this? They're
I
later.
think it started at 7.
7,
This would be
unless they have
6.
something before that, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're at a regular planning board meeting, I don't see anybody from the council here, so I think if we did.
Rick Alderman was here before.
But if you did it at 6, that would be an hour.
Yeah.
before.
That's just the 4th?
April 4th,
Good.
No.
you're not good?
We could send out.
I have a lot meeting I have to be at.
Chuck?
All right, so we'll send out a note tomorrow and everybody will,
I'm good for
okay. Fourth.
I'm good.
Okay, so it looks like we will be setting it for the 4th.
Does that work for the consultants? I mean,
We'll make it work probably here.
in case you have another client that has a meeting on the board.
And everything that they have, until that point will be on the city's website.
Yes,
They're good.
they're good, okay. All right,
I can be there. And I'll find out if works.
It's virtual, so.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, and Jared.
That'll be at 6 also.
At what time?
6.
At 6.
6 o'clock, right?
yep. Okay,
And it's Golden Hill, right?
It's Golden Hill,
Put that
so,
on the calendar.
sorry, Sue.
that's okay. Here, I was like, yay, we got it.
No,
Okay.
one document.
All right, well,
We'll fix it.
that's fine, okay. All right.
Sure.
That was the big. I don't know if the board, couple of things, then, does the board want the applicants to provide material samples? Like, the Landmarks Commission had material samples for the Kingstonian project. I don't know if this board is looking for, sometimes we have that, sometimes we don't. I don't know if you are interested here or not. Doesn't look like that's a requirement. Okay, all right. One thing I also thought about was the materials matrix. I'd like the applicants to provide that. It's what we requested for Bluestone Commons project. It worked out very well. And it was, and I'll provide the format to you.
I was gonna say, if you could send it to me,
Okay,
that'd be
and
great.
it was a concise document, showed all the materials, spectrum, color, whatever. It was all in one little place. It's nice, neat package.
Okay.
Great.
Are you going to go through the list of actions we can do tonight, or do you want
I think we've covered quite a few of them already. I'm just going to give my staff notes to them.
to? Okay, so let's start with the
Right.
I'm sorry, are we gonna have some of the responses on the traffic? Because at the public hearing, we're gonna hear a lot about traffic. I'd like to be up to snuff on that.
I feel Tom Johnson's here, the traffic engineer, and Tom, I don't want to speak for you, but you think we'd be able to have a response?
Did you guys?
The GPI,
Yes.
so, okay.
Okay.
Another hot topic was blasting. I know you said you're doing some more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we're obviously, it's something we want to try to avoid, not just because of the concerns, but there's expense associated with that as well. So again, I think we're down to just the one building at this point for what we think we would need to, even have to consider it. So that's where we're having some additional borings done. We could probably have, maybe a little bit more information, on our next set of plans, that identifies maybe some of those depths, for everybody to see from that perspective.
Sure. I think that'll help at the public meeting.
Okay, but we've definitely raised things up as much as we can so that we can try to keep trench work, all our utilities, trying to keep them up and out, any in the rock, so that we're not having to deal with that as we go as well.
Great. I know that we have been sending all of the public comments that have been coming through in written form to you. I don't know if you want to prepare any responses back to specifically address some of those comments. As a board, we're going to have to address them. So you might want to weigh in first.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a close look at each.
Okay.
It's a general theme.
Yeah, yeah. Or like the highlights.
Yeah, this is an action to second. Future second. Do you need to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a given. You're going to do the.
Just checking on stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna get comments to us then tomorrow, we'll have those?
Email them to you.
Okay, thank you.
I probably will do it tonight.
Okay. I'm probably not gonna
So,
look at it
okay.
tonight, but.
Well, that's okay,
But,
but it's off my list.
Okay. But then we'll start to go through those if we have any
Okay.
questions, obviously.
Yep.
So the target then is April 4th, 6 PM, so you'll confirm that for us tomorrow, maybe, or so?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it'll be the time, and quorum, we've already basically
Okay.
said it, so
Perfect.
that will be it. We'll set up the webinar, and we'll get all of that out tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But as soon as you, don't hold off until that date, so as soon as you develop new information, get it to me, we'll place it
Sure.
on the website, we'll update. So
Great.
we can-
That'll be Zoom for everyone, including the board.
Yes. Mhm.
Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything
Any
else
other
really. Dennis?
I was just wondering if the board could give us a sense of where you think you are in terms of making a secret determination from a timeline perspective, assuming we can address your comments and the public comments.
That's part of the public hearing, is the secret. So,
Right. We'll probably know better, Dennis, after the hearing.
That was the first part. Thank you. And the second piece of that is that I just want to let everyone know that the county is looking at its ability essentially to demolish the existing jail that's up there. We are making plans to use some of our ARPA funds, the American Rescue Funds, to essentially help Penrose go through some of this process and making sure that we have a local constituency or a local investment in the project, which seems to be necessary now in order for you to essentially attract low-income housing tax credit funding. So the county is looking and trying to essentially And this is not the only project we're doing it in. We have another project which also has requested some county money with respect to make sure that they could sort of move the needle in terms of trying to get funding from the state. So the question then becomes is that the county can issue its own building permits and demolition permits for this. But with the board acting as lead agency, we're very hesitant to essentially to move forward to essentially demolish the building absent a secret determination from you folks. And I'm just looking for some sort of guidance here relative to that. And part of that is that we're trying to meet a funding deadline and the construction deadline so that perhaps we can start construction as early as next spring and begin work perhaps as early as January. And it takes us a while to take the building down. We would add the things that you just talked about in terms of how to get in and out of the site to our bid documents, as well as we have a requirement at the county level to maximize recycling of C&D debris. That would also be in that contract.
So you just look for like a blessing now?
I'm not sure if blessing is good.
You don't need it. No, you own the property, so, you know, the county owns the property, why don't you just go
The
ahead?
difficulty I'm having is, and this is the difficulty that we face is that with a lead agency in existence and no secret determination, you're kind of somewhat precluded from essentially beginning any activities that would actually help the project along. I can make the case that regardless of whether the project is built or not, the building needs to come down. The county had a grant several years ago to actually take the building down. I was looking to take the building down for economic development purposes. So I can make that case. I just don't want to upset the board or the neighborhood if we go in that direction.
No, I think that, you know, you being present at all these meetings really shows that the county is truly interested in repurposing this property, you know, and will do everything they can to go about it in the proper manner.
We have a new jail that was built and there's no
Yeah,
use for
so-
that jail. It's basically a prehistoric structure.
I mean, like
No use.
speaking, I think we're good with that. I think go ahead and.
Okay. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we'll go through the necessary steps at the county level to make sure that we can make that decision that will stand up in terms of how we've made it and what we're going to do. And we're going to be happy to share those demolition permits, those demolition plans with you.
Okay.
So that you get a sense of what we're doing here.
Okay, thank you, Dennis.
Thank you for that guidance. It's appreciated.
You had mentioned somebody way a traffic pattern,
Construction route.
construction route, should the demolition you use the same route?
Maybe you could identify.
The hauling route.
Yeah, the hauling route.
Yeah, we would do that.
Make sure you get the same route.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Can I ask a question about public transportation for the residents? So I'm assuming UCAP will be involved because it's county, right? That's involved in the project.
Sure.
But will there be any other transportation that the owner is going to provide?
So do you want to just elaborate on the UCAT stuff first and then we can dig on?
Sure. From a UCAP perspective, we've sort of pledged that we'll provide a bus stop at the location. There's a lot of public transit that's up here that moves out back and forth with respect to this location. And we pledged that as a means to do that. The other thing is that, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but the county is also working with a company called VIA. There was some notices in the paper about it, and they are literally a demand response. And we are submitting an application for funding and doing some planning studies with respect to that. And it's called microtransit now. And if that's the case, then we'll have, in my opinion anyway, there wouldn't be any need for additional transportation on the hill. But we'll have to wait and see whether we get funded for that. It's a demonstration project. We should have a decision, I would suggest, prior to early next year, or early this fall. I think the NYSERDA is calling for some decision. The schedule slipped because of when contracts can get signed. But that planning study is going to be underway, and we're participating in that. I know Family is a partner. community partner, that there's going to be a substantial amount of outreach to design that service. It literally is designed to help those folks in the neighborhoods that don't have access to transit right now. And we're looking at Kingston as one of the areas for microtransit, and we're also looking at Ellenville, both of which have a substantial amount of something called qualified census tracts and environmental justice areas within.
That microtransit, that's kind of like almost a free Uber from what I.
It's very powerful software that basically lets you schedule a transit person-to-person trips on a very expedited situation where you're not waiting 24 hours for the bus to pick you up. You're literally waiting somewhere in a neighborhood of 2 or 3 hours. When you call and request service, you'll get the service in that fashion. So that's how it works. And the decision whether it's a turnkey operation operated by another operator or the county adds software to its own facilities is something that we need to really work out as we go through the planning process.
And UCAT is, will come right up into the complex?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we'll have a shelter associated with that too,
Yes.
for that? Okay.
We're building into the site plan. Yeah, we're building a stop into the site plan. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, this time we'll make a motion to table item number 15, have a second. Second by Robert Jacobson, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you. Virtual next time.
Virtual next time. 11, right? Yeah.
Oh,
I'm in trouble now. I'm not even under the naming.
Get any of the naming right.
Just don't walk away. For the record, you gotta say,
I gotta take
hey, Tom.
You don't want it all there.
You can hold hearings virtually, we can have to hold meetings.
We could have held this meeting virtually, but we didn't know the government was going to.
So she has extended it to April.
And she extended it.
I wasn't sure, that's what I wasn't.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. They,
Thanks.
they.
Good to see you.
They might.
See you, Michael.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, item 16 is 3-1 and 3-5 Washington Avenue. It's a site plan for construction of a 7,262 square foot commercial building. Section block and lot is 48.2-30-1-3 and 2. Seeker determination, zone C2, Ward 1, Interante Development Group LLC is the applicant, 389 Washington LLC is the owner. Robert Jacobson is recusing himself.
Based on a pre-existing business relationship with the applicant.
Okay, and this is just a presentation, right? So,
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Let the record show that Interante is here. Welcome.
Hey, everyone. Thank you.
See you in person.
Yep. Been a long time. A lot of Zooms.
Okay, is he signed in and whatever's going on?
I'm gonna share.
Nobody else out there.
Okay, so I'll give you a quick rundown, be brief, I know it's late. This is a proposed development for 38135 Washington Avenue. This is it's actually 2 parcels. We're also submitting for a lot line deletion. This is the lot 1 in from the corner there of Joyce Lane, North Front and Washington Avenue. So prior, there was a building on that lot for quite some time, and I believe there was a fire.
I'm not heard of that. We had 2 fires.
Okay, so you know it well.
I do.
So it's basically been an empty, parking lot conveyed with the sale of the 2 adjacent parcels, one of which was sold recently by the current owner and another that's still for sale. So we're pending contract with the current owner. So what we're proposing, it's in the C2, proposing an office building. It'll basically be our headquarters. And we have some garage bays, and then mostly office space, and then empty storage space sort of above the garage. Originally, we had thought about doing a 2-story for the office and a single story for the garage space, but it was tough to get the aesthetic we wanted for the building in that location. So it's, you know, basically going to be an empty sort of loft, second floor. And we think the building looks a lot better that way. So we have 9 total parking spaces, including the ADA handicap space, entrance from the parking side, also from Washington Avenue. And if you go down to the last page in the set, you'll see some renderings of the proposed building, a little bit of light landscaping on Washington Avenue side, boxwoods along the front there, and then some also in the rear. Because of the access to the site, Joy's Lane has very good access. Washington Avenue was a bit of a concern, so we're showing a right turn only leaving because of the proximity to the intersection. I don't know why those other two are, but there's 2 others.
Yeah, I was curious about that, so that is something.
You're thinking Washington Avenue in and out both?
No, right turn exit only.
Only, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And we show that with the marking on the pavement, and we could also do signage there also. And there's
There's lots of things in directional curving there. Is it tough?
I don't know. I mean, it's a flush, you know, it's actually newer concrete, right? Newer concrete sidewalk right there on Washington Avenue. We could probably use some directional curving right along the side of the building right there.
Because I'm gonna try to get in there.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I'm almost thinking entrance only.
That would be fine too. I mean,
I'm just saying where the light is, you know, and the distance, and I'm just thinking just right turn only in.
yeah, the only thing we didn't want was left turn out.
Yeah.
Seems like the most difficult, so using it for one or the other is fine by us. I mean, I think Joy's.
Well, people going out Joy's would then have the benefit of the light,
Right,
so I think that's a natural,
yeah,
Lucas.
yeah.
right. So yeah, we're open to that,
Yeah.
whatever the board thinks is best there.
I do think your concerns about the proximity to the intersection certainly weighs in.
Yeah. Right, and there's always, if you hit that red light, you know, it backs way down Washington pretty quickly toward Lucas, so we don't want somebody half pulled out and then getting stuck. Yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. The use of the building is, as I mentioned, mostly office for our operation. We have some, you know, vehicle parking inside, and then we have some storage space, which mainly is finish items. From time to time, we're stuck taking delivery of things that are early for a particular project. So we do a little bit of storing there, just sort of receiving. No major storage, anything large as the construction sites. And then we have an abundance of samples and documents and things like that. So file storage, roll file storage and samples and things like that. In regard to the finishes, we're showing a panel, which is a fiber cement product in a linear stack that has a built-in rain screen. And then we just did a differentiating color at the top as sort of the crown on the parapet. And there's details at the top of that sheet in terms of the specs and colors and that sort of thing.
I think it's a nice infill project.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of just vacant there, you know, a couple people
Yeah.
parked there, but it really hasn't been used for anything, you know, productive since that building burned down. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Oh, in terms of the site plan, we did speak with John Schultes. He's reviewing the plan. We're waiting on a little bit more data in terms of contours to finalize the grading plan and stormwater. I did speak with DPW in regards to the sewer, so our surveyor's got to capture some more data just to put in here and kind of finalize everything, but, it's all, there's mains on both Joyce Lane and Washington Avenue. There's evidence of prior terminations from when that building was cleaned up. So everything's pretty readily accessible. We know we have the depths and speaking to DPW for sewer.
It's a lot easier making the connection on Joyce than it would be on Washington.
Yeah, just in
There's
terms
also a
of-
lot
I
on
see that,
deletion application that will be coming, so you'll have a subdivision lot on deletion too for this.
So you think you'll be ready for a formal presentation or go through the process next month?
Actually, yeah, I was just kind of late with everything this month, so everything's submitted. Seeker short form EAF is submitted. Everything else, and like I said, hopefully by next month, we'll have the final input from John and just sort of grading and utilities.
And we'll do the lot line deletion there too?
That's been submitted, so it'll be on for next month. Yeah.
So one of the things we could do in the meantime, I think this might be a county referral, which didn't occur to me before, but we could, if the board's okay, with the submission, we could refer that in the meantime and then have that back for the April meeting.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Everybody else? Does this have to go to everybody? A lot of employees. Does this have to go to everybody?
No, we have, as far as office staff, we have 4 to 6. So not too many, and then a few of them are, a few hours a day in the office, mostly field work.
Okay, no, that's good.
Yeah, so if anybody had any comments now that, anything you'd like to see before the next meeting, this
I
could
think it's a
be,
nice read. Thanks.
everybody okay with facade and?
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of new builds going on.
Street tree.
Well, street trees.
I was actually thinking that on the Troy's Lane side. I don't know if there's room.
With these type of.
I think we have a little bit of room for some trees on the Joyce Lane
I think
side.
on the front side, there may be some trees in that stretch on Washington.
There was
Okay.
2 big trees that are gone now, that were
Okay.
sidewalk trees. If
Then
you look at the
those,
street
I don't think
view
there's
from
any tree
2012.
lawn there, though. I think it's pretty much.
There isn't. So on the Joyce Lane side, and speaking of
Joyce
John, we're
Lane.
gonna add a 2-foot strip. And then we do have, and that's when we have sidewalk, and then we have a fair amount of space between edge of sidewalk on our side of the building. And we show some boxwoods along that side to the right of that door on the west elevation, but we could put a couple trees in there too, I think.
Nice.
The tree picture, especially 4 by 4, 5 by 5. Sustaining trees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna look at that and see, I think we do.
No, that's good. Excellent.
As long as we, pick something that's not too massive.
How about parking?
We do have a list of trees.
That's right.
And probably have that.
Yeah.
We're counting 3 interior, yep, and then the rest of
Yeah,
it
down
exterior, which is 1, 2, 3, I think we have 9.
Just in line up in front of the garage doors.
Yeah, and I spoke to building safety about that, they don't have an issue with it, because it's, private use. We don't have walk-in customers, if anything, it's by appointment, or meeting with, clients or things like that, so we pretty much control, who's parked where and when, and, so we don't expect it to ever be at capacity.
And this would be a site plan, but not a special use, there's no special.
Site plan. Straight site plan.
That's what it says right here. Look at that, I gotta read. All right, any other questions?
Looks good to
All
me.
right, well, we're looking forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If there will be any staff notes or anything like that before.
Yeah, I
So-
don't think we want too many, but we might need one or whatever.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Any other business before this board?
No.
Great. Dr. Malacca with a motion to adjourn.
Jump.
Matt, Nicholas is a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Matthew, thank you.
Turn this off.
Kind of